across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Two minutes past 6. Shall we do this? Phew, what a scorcher. Happy Saturday, one and all. Mark Dolan, Talk Breakfast. A big 4 hours to come. And breaking this morning, he is streetings ahead. Wes has the numbers. An assault on the leadership of Keir Starmer is expected in 7 days' time, following what are anticipated to be catastrophic local election results. Meanwhile, Talk Breakfast has been told Angela Rayner is sounding out support from backbenchers and the trade unions. Streeting's in. Rayner's in. And waiting in the wings, the King of the North. Could he become the King of the whole of Britain? Big Andy Burnham thinks he's got a safe seat and could be back in the Commons in a matter of weeks. It's Burnham, it's Rayner, it's streeting. Now, it's highly possible the Prime Minister may resign after Thursday's results, but at that point we will see the mother of all beauty contests as the biggest figures in the party battle it out to become our next Prime Minister. But is Keir Starmer the devil we know? Will the alternative be worse? Who would you like to see in the top job? And will Starmer seek to cling on and ride out this political storm? It's not impossible that the Prime Minister presses the nuclear button and calls a back me or sack me general election. We've got the biggest names in journalism and in politics reflecting on the political story of the year. Starmer on the brink. Rayner's in, Streeting's in, Burnham's in. So my question to you this morning is a simple one. Can a new leader save Labour? My phone number is 0344 499 1000. The brilliant Shalape is on the phones today. Text the word talk in your message to 87222 or leave us a voice note. We know you're busy on a Saturday morning. You're getting the kids ready for their swimming lessons. Maybe you're taking the wife out for a bit of shopping. Buy her a new frock if you've got the money. No one's got the money, have they? We're all skint. If you really want to treat the wife, by the way, if you want to buy her something that you can't really afford, how's about a tank of unleaded? There you go, darling. I filled up the Skoda for you. You can thank me later. Now, the DNA of the Talk brand is in radio. I myself was a phone operator at Talk Radio in 1998. So you can hear us on the radio. And you may well just have me in your ear, in bed as you're under the duvet. Maybe you're in the kitchen, maybe you're in the car. So we love having you on the radio, DAB+, in-app and online. But producer Dean is all about TV. He comes from the world of TV. He's got the money and the teeth to prove it. He's so glossy. He's so Hollywood, that guy. So therefore, if you want to watch the show and see my amazing guests and watch Dolan's Dispatch at 9 o'clock, which might get me cancelled, good, then all you got to do is head over to YouTube, search Talk, and up we pop. It is a TV show with loads of stuff happening. I do not need this Financial Times. I don't understand the headlines. Don't understand the Financial So head over to YouTube, search Talking Up We Pop, and you'll watch me probably destroying 20 grand's worth of camera equipment. I'd like to apologise to management for what happened last week. Pressing the buttons, we've gone business class. In fact, forget about that. We've definitely turned left. We've gone club class with Dave the engineer. He's not just a legend of talk, he's a legend of the building. There's currently a bidding war going on between myself and Alan Brazil for his services. Let me tell you, I'm winning! Which takes me to the boss, our glorious leader, because I'm delighted to say after 4 weeks in rehab, he's back! Dean Spencer, who celebrated last night at the Three Horseshoes, his amazing recovery. He was on soft drinks all night. Gin and tonic, it's a soft drink. Jack Daniels and Coke, that is, I think you'll find that's a soft drink. And Guinness, which is, it's barely any alcohol in Guinness. So congratulations to Dean, who's back. We've got so much to get through. My question is a simple one. I need you to tell me. I need your help. You're in charge. This is your show. This is your conversation. This is your country. So, who should lead it? Wait, get back on that chair. There was nearly an accident there. I will say, if I had an accident in the studio, I'll make millions. This place is heavily insured. An important question. It is the question of the day. Can a new leader save Labour? 0344 499 1000. As the saying goes, let's talk. There is an ugly bidding war going on for the services of Engineer Dave, and it's going on between myself and Alan Brazil, and I'm winning. Front page of the Weekend. Reform and Greens on course to tear up UK political map in next week's vote. The Daily Telegraph, Streeting primed to challenge Starmer. It ain't going to happen. Streeting is too right-wing. He's got too much common sense. The other day, he said that the country doesn't live within its means, that we've got to slash welfare to pay for defence. Do you think that sort of message is going to make him popular with left-wing Labour MPs? And the party membership, who is so woke, so progressive, they rather admire the Green Party and Captain Cleavage himself, Zach Polansky. Forget about it. Streeting's got no chance. If you've got the right policies and common sense, you will not become the leader of the Labour Party. I quite like Shabana Mahmood. Let me give you an example of what the Home Secretary wants to do. She wants to double the length of time that you wait before receiving settled status in the country. She wants to make you wait 10 years rather than 5. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not enough. I would suggest either 20 years or scrap the whole thing. Why can't we be like other countries where you just have a rolling visa and you have to be productive and you've got to make a contribution, then you stay? Look at Dubai. Did you know that in Dubai, if you haven't had a job after a year, you're out? Isn't that magical? No wonder there's no crime there. No wonder it's so incredibly successful when it's not being bombed by Iran. I realise that's quite an important thing to put in parentheses, but you take my point. You can only go to Dubai if you've got something to contribute. You won't get handouts. There's no welfare. You are responsible for your own finances. And if you sit around chowing down Domino's pizza and watching Netflix, and you do that for a year, you are out. So Shabana Mahmood is the Home Secretary. She wants to double the length of time that you wait for settled status. And are you ready for these incredibly radical far-right ideas she's got? Shabana Mahmood, Labour Home Secretary. You have to speak the language. I know. How intolerant. You'd have to speak the language of the country to a high standard. You have to be economically productive, and you can't have a criminal record. And if you're particularly wealthy, you jump the queue, right? Brilliant policies, which is why she'll never win. Because her policies are a good idea and the right thing to do. You know, the magic of this show and the magic of talk is that we're not an echo chamber. It's not a bubble. It's not a tribe. If somebody from the Labour Party has a good idea, I'll say that's a good idea. I'm not tribal. I hate all that tribal stuff. Because, you know, I want a political revolution in this country. I really, really do. I'm just saying that to you now. If you're watching on YouTube, have a look at me just staring at you in the camera. You are a human being. You can tell if someone's real and you can tell if someone's not real. And you can see that as I speak to you with my hands open and I'm eyeballing the camera right now, that I want a revolution. My parents came here in the 1960s They're Irish, and they decided they would make a contribution to this country. They set up a business, they took risks, they employed people, they paid their taxes. They raised 4 kids. The other 3 are okay. I'm very lucky. I am the best one of the 4. I'm lucky. It's probably genetics. There are 4 of us. I'm the best one. The other 2, there's 2 girls who are fine, and an older brother who's decent. But then there was me. I came along, and it's when I visit my family, there's a buzz about the place. And they're pinching themselves that I'm part of it. And that's great. And obviously it happens less now because I'm so busy, there isn't time to see these people. But the bottom line, my point is, jokes aside, my folks did come to the UK in the 60s and they wanted to make a contribution. They were Irish, but they became British. And so my experience of this country and theirs is a truly magical one. The opportunities, if you work hard, if you take risks, and if you put in more than you take out, then it's a very welcoming place. And the issue that we've got now is I can see the country that my parents came to just disappearing. It is no longer the Britain it was in the 60s, the 70s and the 80s. 1987, economic growth. Are you ready for this? 87, under evil Margaret Thatcher. Do you want to know the size of economic growth? 5.4%, folks. The economy expanded by 5.4%. That's the strength of the beer you had last night, isn't it, Dean? He thinks Asahi is a light It's not, Dean. Asahi is not a light it's not a session strength, Dean. It's 5.1. It'll hit you right between the eyes. So the bottom line, folks, is that I promise you, I mean, call me, let's have this conversation. I want a political revolution. What does that look like? You close the borders unilaterally, right? You stop the boats to 0. You turn them around. There's a moratorium. You say, in a month's time, that's it. You don't cross the channel. You have the Navy. You just bring in the ships. You have a diplomatic and economic war with France. I don't care. You tear up every single convention, ECHR, Human Rights Act, Refugee Convention. Why? Because the boat is unfair on actual refugees who don't get a look in because of these undocumented men that pay gangsters to break the law and enter the country illegally. So we need a revolution. We've got to stop those boats to 0. And we have to close the door to mass immigration for 5 years so we can recalibrate. That's what we have a successful multi-ethnic society. Not a problem. But the multicultural thing, forget about it. Parallel communities, not learning the language, having your own laws. Good luck with that. Thanks, but no thanks. That is not the Britain that my parents came to in the 1960s. It's not the Britain that Rishi Sunak's family came to in, when was that? Similar time, 60s, 70s. It's not the Britain that anyone that has come to this country and contributed chose for it to become. So the bottom line is that we need a revolution. We'll get to that. I'm talking about it in today's Dolan's Dispatch, which may get me cancelled. Good. But the bottom line is we need an economic revolution where it pays to work and it doesn't pay not to work, where it's a human right to have a job, not but welfare. We need to close the border. We need to end illegal immigration to 0. We need cheap energy, as well as, I've got no problem with renewables. You can have your windmills. I'm not ridiculous about this. I know folk who have solar panels on their houses, which heats the home in the winter. Great! Fine! Have your solar panels and your windmills, Dave. Dave, the engineer, by the way. Can I just say, there is an ugly battle going on at the moment between myself and TalkSport for the services of Dave. I'm winning. So the bottom line, folks, is that's it. We need a revolution. I don't care who does it. I don't care if it's Nigel Paul Farage. I don't care if it's Kemi. I don't care if it's Big Wes Streeting or Shabana Mahmood. I just want a revolution. I've outlined what I want. But the question I've got for you this morning is a simple one. Will a new leader save Labour? Can someone come in and fix this? Because may God help us, they've got 3 more years. So is there an individual in their ranks that can turn this ship around? Because I think you'll agree, if Wes Streeting or Shabana Mahmood came in, or some other character like John Kearns, Mr Blobby, is Mr Blobby in the House of Commons? I think so. I think he's the Labour MP for the Wirral. Blobby, blobby, blobby. Don't you think Mr. Blobby would do a better job than Rachel Reeves? Have you heard that great news? But inflation's going to be 6%. Apparently it's all Donald Trump's fault. Correct. Inflation is the fault of Donald Trump, the war in Iran, tariffs, according to Rachel from accounts, Brexit, obviously, although she only mentioned that like 10 minutes ago. It's also apparently the fault of the Battle of Hastings, the French Revolution, and the Stone Age. We are, Dave. The Stone Age has definitely got an influence on economic growth at the moment. Folks, a simple question. Will a new leader save Labour? 6:17, one of the country's most experienced and respected journalists, is live next.
Starmer fueling anti-Semitism?
I don't think he's doing anything to deal with anti-Semitism. The attempt to gaslight the British people and the Jewish community is appalling.
This has to stop. It's almost being normalised, and it's terrifying, and we're sick of it. Enough's enough.
Don't be shocked, and don't you bloody dare claim to be shocked or upset or care about Jewish people being stabbed on the streets of our capital city in broad daylight. This is on you.
They sent us a picture that made me feel so ashamed. We look like hoarders.
Chris Marshall!
Yeah, I'm actually recovering from an accident right now.
You've landed loose today, haven't you?
Yeah, don't shake the arm, Chris, too much.
You're with Danny Boyle, who's like the maddest director ever. He's got so much energy. He's like you.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Can a new leader save Labour? This is Talk Breakfast. And Christina says, good morning, Mark. There is no one in the Labour Party that could take over. We need a general election. Brendan, good morning, Mark. No way can Labour ever be trusted to run the country ever again, in my opinion. Stephen Northants, a new Labour leader to turn things around, not in a million years. Front pages of today's newspapers. The Daily Telegraph, Streeting primed to challenge Starmer. Health Secretary Wes Streeting has support of more than 80 MPs to trigger a leadership election. Migrant skills test will let cheats game the system is the other story there. Then you've got, how about this, Daily Mirror, exclusive new questions, Epstein Ranch, Andrew probe. Times newspaper, Met chief, British Jews face greatest ever threat. And Daily Mail, Polanski's Greens are a party of poison. As he's forced to apologise for attacking police over Golders Green, pressure grows on the Green leader to purge anti-Semites. Well, he'll have to purge himself, and don't make that defence that he's Jewish. It doesn't matter. He's thrown Jewish people under the bus. Live in the studio, the former executive editor of the News of the World, Neil Wallace. Good morning, Neil.
Good morning, Mark.
Neil, can a new leader save Labour?
I don't think so, because what you've got here is we're looking at the least bad option. So what you're not looking at is, oh, that guy's coming to, he is something. Do you remember, I mean, you're sufficiently old, and some of our listeners and viewers maybe as well, to remember when it was Gordon Brown and Tony Blair, who, whether you like them or not, they were big figures. They were big brains. They were coming through. They had ideas. Do we really think that you look at this lineup and it's the least worst options situation? Is that going to save Labour? No, it's not. It just means we get the least worst option. Who's worse? This guy over here, this guy over here, this woman there with the red hair who apparently got completely drunk the other night in the Strangers Bar at the House of Commons, according to Dan Hodges in the Mail, who had a big first-person piece of it. Do we really think that's the next Prime Minister of this country? Do we really think that person is going to save Labour? What we do have is a least worst options of, on the left, a coterie of people on the left, Andy Burnham, the so-called King of the North, who I remember, because I'm sufficiently old, that he was a health minister. He was the head of the NHS in the Blair Brown years.
Yeah.
And he was a disaster. Let's not pretend that he was something he wasn't. Then you've got Angela Rayner, who basically is just bringing in whatever laws there are that her union paymasters want. Then you've got Red Ed Miliband, who's trying to destroy all our own energy supplies, and his net zero policies are just plainly madness. So you've got that on the one side, that, you know, this left coalition, and then the other, you've got apparently a perfectly nice guy in Wes Streeting, but he's got the sort of charisma of that sort of pole on the desk there. He just doesn't have it. So where the heck do we go?
And he's too right wing for the party membership as well.
Yeah, he might
because
have.
The other day he said, Neil, that we should reduce welfare spending to pay for defence. Well, if that won't get you cancelled in the Labour Party, nothing will. Why is it such a controversial statement? Because it's the right thing to do, and that's not the logic of this party.
No, because it's so ideologically. But I tell you what it is. Actually, it's a pretty working class, normal voter thing to say.
Yeah.
But that's not what owns the Labour Party.
Because working class people know about living within your means because they have to.
Yeah, they don't have a choice about it.
And they expect those that govern us to do the same.
Yeah.
And that's something that the spendthrift Labour Party don't understand.
But what you've got is, you know, the so-called red wall. You know, I come from it, I live there, and these are people who come into life knowing they have to work and fight their corner and get where they want to be. What you have now is a Labour Party that is run by a load of middle-class university graduates from the Islington belt, as it were.
Yeah.
And they
PPE at Oxford.
Yeah, all of that completely lost touch with the reality of what the Labour
Work
Party
for a think tank.
Yeah, never have a proper
maybe a
job.
lawyer. That's about as good as it gets.
Yeah, you've only got to look at the construction of the cabinet and ask yourself how many of these guys have ever had a real job, as in going out into the real private industry in the real world where you have to put up or shut up.
Public sector, local authority, party apparatchik, the charity sector, that's it.
Yeah, their ambitions as they come out of their cosy university backgrounds is, where can I get a nice job in the civil service? How can I become a SPAD, a special advisor for the Labour Party? Which university group can I wheedle my way into...
Did you just call me a spad?
Well,
it's a little bit harsh. Is that even allowed on Ofcom? Dave, can you say spad on the radio? I've not had that since I was in the playground. Very harsh. But do you know what? Harsh but fair. A lot of people do think I'm a bit of a spad.
I think a lot of people think you're a lot of things.
Unbroadcastable. But you've put your finger on it. These people that govern us, this Labour Party, it's elitist, it's progressive, it's middle class, it's Islington mentality.
Islington mentality. I mean, you know, how on earth did Starmer become the Prime Minister? Because he epitomises. He isn't really... He's for anything you want him to be for. He's against anything you want him to be against. And you go to that lady over there, ask her, and he'll be for whatever she wants. He'll be against whatever she wants. He doesn't believe in anything. That's where we have a problem. And you see, I think a big problem we have here, you pose a really important question. Can a new leader save Labour? The thing is, I think looking at all the papers, looking at all the predictions, looking at all of this story of internal warfare, my fear is it's all already priced in. I've noticed in the last week the forecast for how many Labour seats they're going to lose at the local elections have risen like a rocket.
Yeah.
They've gone from, they're going to lose 1,000 seats. No, they're not. They're going to lose 1,500 seats. Yesterday, it's up to 2,000 seats.
Extraordinary.
Now, if it's anything less than that, Starmer will go, real people out there like me. You know, it will be absolute. And the same goes within the parties, because there is a basic truth. You know, these people want to hang on to their jobs in the Parliamentary Labour Party, and they will be thinking, is Angela Rayner going to make my job more safe or not? And the answer is no, she won't, because you've only got to look at her employment rights bill and what that's doing to companies now, and how she wanted to bring in the bill which means on day one of your job you could have said you could claim unfair dismissal, you could claim you needed you should be compensated because they looked at you in the wrong way or whatever it is. You know,
bereavement leave from day one. I mean, you come from the mean streets of newspaper journalism and the ruthless backdrop of 70s and 80s Fleet Street. Can you imagine pitching up to your editor at the time in the mid-80s and saying, I know I've only just started, but Auntie Jean has passed, so you won't see me for a week?
It's just...
I mean, how quickly would it... How long would it take for you to be out the door?
Well, I remember when they brought in paternity leave and the shock that ran through the newsroom at the very idea.
You know why? The hacks didn't want it.
Yeah,
they want to go to work.
Yeah.
I don't want to stay home with the missus and get yelled at.
Yeah, get told off. No, I want to go down the pub for a couple of hours.
I've heard the reason why your children are wonderful is because you weren't there. That's why I was told.
Well, that is literally true. I was with them yesterday, funnily enough, last night with my son. And the truth of the matter is I was swanning around the world as a reporter.
Earning money for the family, I think you'll find.
Yeah, I was, but I was having a pretty good time as well. And the poor old wife, as it was then, was there dragging them up.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. So you're so right about that. That Angela Rayner, although she's not currently in government, Neil, she's the architect of a lot of the economic misery that we're now going through.
Yeah, I mean, you should not underestimate the power that she has and had, because she was the only genuine working class, the one last working class person in the Labour Party, and so she was given iconic status, and the trade unions adored her. The problem was that she was living out, and is still living out, all those fantasies about it can all be made better by giving people free money and saying, you don't have to work really, we'll do it all for you. And that's the position we're in. More and more people are being paid not to work, and less people are actually getting out there. I had a lovely bloke drove me in this morning in the cab that you kindly sent to pick me up, and he'd been working all night. He was chatting about this was his last drop, and then he was going home, he was going to have breakfast with his missus. She's not working today, you know, he said.
Today?
It's Saturday, you know, it's bank holiday Saturday, and he said with relief, she's not actually working today, you know.
Yeah.
And I thought, he was a guy in his 60s, and
probably on a 10 or 12-hour shift, because when you are a taxi driver, you have to work long hours. You need if it's a week, you need 2 or 3 days just to cover your costs before you go into profit.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I just thought he was a lovely fella, and I just thought, you're a real bloke. You know, and the idea of saying to this guy, don't work, just pick up your benefits and be depressed. Be a bit depressed. That'll do it. They'll sign you off.
Well, the latest, a single parent with 3 children on benefits will clear £4,000 a month tax-free. How many miles in his Toyota Prius does that taxi driver have to cover to achieve £4,000 a month after tax? I mean, well, he won't
begin to think that's possible.
I don't think so.
To clear it.
Well, because what do you have to pull in for £4,000 a month? What have you got to be turning over? 6.5?
I would have said 7.
Wow.
I always worked on the basis that whatever you got in your pay packet, you had to earn pretty much double of.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're not double, then at least 3/4.
Especially when you take into account inflation, the invisible tax.
Exactly, and particularly the cost of living that is being brought on us at the moment. You know, the idea that you could live a life on net £4,000 a month and don't have to get out of bed in the morning to do it, other than to take the kid to school in your pyjamas. I mean, you know, it's just the world's gone mad. You have to create wealth to distribute wealth.
And of course, you'll agree with me, you are a man of deep, deep empathy, Neil, and if somebody cannot work because of severe illness,
that's a completely different thing.
And that's why we pay our taxes. I would argue, gladly pay our taxes.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have any problems whatsoever. I've benefited from the NHS, for instance, myself very much.
And me too.
And
most of us have.
Yeah, and so that's legitimate. I care about spending my money on like defence. Defence, we need the defence of this country has to be paramount. Do I think that you should be allowed to have as many children as you choose to create, and then expect me to pay for it and not pay for defence, not pay for the NHS? No, I don't think that.
Makes perfect sense. I'm so delighted to have with me in the studio the former executive editor of the News of the World, one of the biggest names in Fleet Street, Neil Wallace. My question to you this morning is a simple one. Will a new leader save Labour? 6:34. This is Talk Breakfast.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
You are listening to Talk Breakfast, and it's lovely to have your company, Mark Dolan, and with me in the studio, Neil Wallace, the former executive editor of the News of the World. And, of course, we have a developing story this morning. Streetings ahead. Wes has the numbers. An assault on the leadership of Keir Starmer is expected in just a week's time. Angela Rayner sounding out support from backbenchers and the trade unions. And Andy Burnham in Greater Manchester thinks he's got a safe seat and could be back in the Commons in weeks. Now, Neil, notwithstanding the many problems that the country faces, to become Prime Minister at this moment in time is still quite the prize, isn't it? Because whoever replaces Starmer, as they do, will have 3 years in office, potentially, and a healthy majority. So it's certainly a job lots of people would like to have.
It's certainly, it's very difficult at the moment to maintain a thought-out interest in politics. Very different for the ordinary listener, for the ordinary newspaper reader, reading day in, day out about the absolute turmoil that this government are in. Pardon me. But the truth is, it's essential. Because you're absolutely right. Whoever gets that job, never forget there are, due to the last election and problems caused by the Tory party imploding and other parties trying to push their way forward, this government has got 400 MPs. 400 out of the 635 or 655, I can't remember what it is now.
Yeah, around that figure.
But it is we should not forget the danger of that massive majority. Whoever gets in can sit there until those next 3 years are out. Remember, you and I have talked about this before, that really it shows the incredible ineptitude of Starmer. He's actually got himself into a position where virtually every front page is talking about him being kicked out. How can you be this giant, if you like, a political giant? He's standing on the shoulders of 400 MPs. How can he be in danger? Now, of course, it's rabid incompetence, but the issue is whoever comes next, it isn't a situation whereby that they can fall easily. They can't just... Somebody said to you quite rightly when we should have a general election. I'm afraid I've got to tell you, you're not going to have a general election for another 3 years. I'm still believe that it will have to be an outright rebellion, as in people standing up to force an election. And I'm not even certain he will lose then, because is he the least worst option? Well, he's certainly the worst, but when you look at after him who, you start to worry. And it is such an incestuous world. They're obsessed with their own interests. The last thing they're looking at is what they think in Wigan and Birkenhead and Bournemouth.
Yeah, they're not thinking about your taxi driver, are they?
They don't give a monkeys about that taxi driver. They just do not care about real people. They're interested in their introverted little world. And unfortunately, however, reality is we've got ourselves in this position, 400 MPs. That figure 400 should sit in your mind when you think, oh, politics don't matter. It does.
You're so right. And there's a question of policy. So, for example, if we have Prime Minister Ed Miliband, then that will be Britain's first net zero Prime Minister. He'll double down on this suicidal policy. If you have Andy Burnham, well, you mentioned that he's very left-wing and will likely want to nationalise everything that moves. Taxes will go up, more borrowing, more socialism, more running out of people's money.
And he has done important jobs in government. He was the health secretary and he was a disaster as the health secretary. On his watch, there was a terrible, it was in the Midlands, a health trust that had a terrible mortality rate in mothers and baby units. And it was on his watch. And he just was not good enough. He was very good at standing on the stage and all singing, all dancing. He says the right thing. He's got the sort of right accent.
He loves himself. He'd eat himself if he was made of chocolate, wouldn't he?
And the rest. But, you know, that's the alternative. And that's why I think Starmer will hang on in there until they carry him out kicking and screaming, because he knows after me who. And he knows when those 400 Labour MPs sit down and over their cornflakes and thinks, who's going to pay for my nice new sofa in 3 years' time when I'm kicked out of this job? Because that's what is going to happen. Because you can hear the drumbeats of reform. Even the Greens, who are hoovering up their more extreme left-wing supporters, they're all galloping towards devouring what used to be a Labour beast. It's going to fall apart, but not for 3 years.
Well, do you want to hear the verdict of Dominic Cummings, who of course was Boris Johnson's chief of staff and the mastermind behind Brexit and Vote Leave? Here's what he posted on X, Neil, on the 25th of April, just a week ago. Andy Burnham was our opponent for a while in the Department for Education from 2010 to 2014. He was so rubbish, I told the team just ignore him and focus on our real problems, officials in the Department for Education. His speeches and blather was so bad and irrelevant, we didn't have to spend time thinking about him. It's fitting that SW1, Westminster Bubble, is treating him like Bill Clinton talent. Sums up the flight of elite talent from SW1 over decades. So, what about this? Similarly, when Starmer took over in 2020, Boris Johnson said that Andy Burnham is absolutely useless. Tragically, he then concluded, I don't have to do anything to win in 24. I can bring in Carrie's friends, have fun. I'm invulnerable. So a historic opportunity to reboot politics was flushed down the bog. Dominic Cummings there on the record as saying that Andy Burnham, a complete waste of space, a flop, a dud.
I think that's actually spot on about an awful lot of things. Now, Dominic Cummings has got this terrible reputation, but you know what? He was a very clever, very insightful man. Problem was he was too much of a maverick even for us.
Definitely, but a great strategist.
Yes.
And he's now an independent commentator. He hasn't got skin in the game. He's just sharing with his audience the fact that Burnham is a dud, in his view.
Yeah.
And this is a guy that's being lionised by the Labour Party as the great white hope.
Well, that's partly because for a long time until the last election, he was just about the only successful Labour Party figure there was, because he'd won the mayorship of Manchester. Now, that's a huge job. And, you know, the North West, which is where I lived for many, many years, privileged to live there, worked for the Manchester Evening News, and you know, he's done a pretty good job there, but he's the only success they had, so they therefore, as I say, lionised him. But the truth is, has the Emperor got new clothes? No, he hasn't. You know, he has no great track record of anything on a national stage. Very good show pony.
Also, is he not a political charlatan, given the fact that in the 2000s he was a Blairite and therefore either centre or even on the right of the party? Are we really buying this whole I'm a socialist act? I'm not sure it's authentic.
Yeah, it has the feel of somebody going, hang on, how am I going to get... let me look up some... oh, where can I go on this? Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll shift left. Just expediency. And that's the curse, of course, of modern politics. It is dominated by expediency rather than principle.
6:46, this is Talk Breakfast. Coming up, how dangerous are the Green Party? And we've got the gory details of Angela Rayner's drunken night out in the House of Commons. This is Talk Breakfast, don't go anywhere.
Starmer fueling anti-Semitism?
I don't think he's doing anything to deal with anti-Semitism. The attempt to gaslight the British people and the Jewish community is appalling.
This has to stop. It's almost being normalised, and it's terrifying, and we're sick of it. Enough's enough.
Don't be shocked, and don't you bloody dare claim to be shocked or upset or care about Jewish people being stabbed on the streets of our capital city in broad daylight. This is on you.
Olivia Moore!
And they sent us a picture that made me feel so ashamed. We look like hoarders.
Chris Marshall!
Yeah, I'm actually recovering from an accident right now.
You've landed loose today, haven't you?
Yeah, don't shake the arm, Chris, too much.
You're with Danny Boyle, who's like the maddest director ever. He's got so much energy. He's like you.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
6:49 Talk Breakfast. Can a new leader save Labour? Here's a voice note from Andy.
Morning, Mark. It's Andy from Birmingham. To answer your question, no. Obviously, Starmer's going to get thrown off his perch, and the sharks that are circling are no better than him. The Labour Party won't change. You know, they're not the party of working people, as they always say they are. They're the party of benefit scroungers and immigrants, basically. What we need in this country is a total change, a change in direction to try and save it. You know, Kemi seems okay. She had a few good Prime Minister's questions. Seems to have gone off the boil, but behind her, you've got the usual Lib Dem, Cleverly, haven't you? And Holland Drake, they'll be Lib Dem. She wouldn't get nothing done. She'll end up probably resigning. So really, in my opinion, we've got to go in a totally radical different direction, and we've got to try and get our country back, mate, because a couple of more years of this and we're going to be right in the poo-poo. Anyway, mate, have a good day.
Andy, I agree with you. Radical change. I want a political, societal and economic revolution, and I think many of you do. Here's another voice note from Hev.
Good morning, Mark. It's Hev. Shabana Mahmood, I don't trust, because she was one that was there at Palestinian marches and stuff. I don't trust her at all. We cannot have Miliband. Oh my God, let's hope he doesn't stand up. I think, to be quite honest, the names you've come out with so far, I think Wes was probably the best of the worst, you know, but God help us all. That's all I can say. God help us all.
A damning but important voice note. Thank you so much for that, Hev. Simon in Wigan. Good morning, Mark, and good morning, Neil. I'm just off to work on this beautiful Saturday morning. The UK, just like all other countries, is being subjected to global economic shocks, but it's our government's job to react and adapt to such challenges using everything at their disposal for the good of its citizens. This means reducing ridiculous spending and rolling back net zero and opening up our reserves of oil, gas and coal. We cannot afford ideological vanity projects, mass indolence and tens of thousands of new arrivals each year. Simon, thank you for that. Barry, good morning, Mark and Neil. Even if Burnham became leader, there's such a lack of talent behind him, it won't make much of a difference. Have you heard this one? I saw it in the paper this morning, Neil, that BP are thinking of withdrawing altogether from the North Sea. That doesn't bode well, does it?
Yeah. And why is that? Why are they going to withdraw? They're going to withdraw because of Red Ed, because of plainly they're having a bit of a boom in their profits because what is happening in the world. The immediate reaction is for Miliband to try to stamp out any way that they can develop and use that money. Profits are the things that you use to generate other profits, to generate more jobs.
They pump it back in. Research and development, recruitments.
That's what it's all about. Yeah. That's the main value of profits. It isn't to buy me a new car. It's actually to buy me the chance to hire new labour, to make experiments, as you say, research and development. It's how you invest. But the immediate knee-jerk of anything from Miliband is to say, no, we'll put a stop to it. Can you imagine how awful it would be if he did actually sneak through on the inside? He's been an utter failure as a politician throughout his career, but he sneaked through and became the successor to Starmer. What on earth would that do to the economy? You know, we're in enough trouble as it is. Can you imagine Ed Miliband and Rachel Reeves as a double act? We thought this Starmer and Reeves was bad enough, but the idea that he could be a next Prime Minister, because the danger is this is moving so quick that Andy Burnham, you know, who is being sort of obviously mooted in Labour circles and certain parts of the press as the white knight galloping over the hill, takes time, that, you know. He has to be an MP. He's got to find a constituency, an MP who will stand down. He's got to go through the process of that. That doesn't happen next week. You know, he's not going to be an MP for within the next week, the week after that. He's not going to be there.
And is there a safe Labour seat in the country?
Well, now that's a really fascinating thought, isn't it? What is a safe Labour seat? What one does Farage sit there, Nigel Farage sit there and think, no, we won't contest that one. No, because we won't get in. He'll be thinking, happy days, bring it on. Because he's right. None of them are safe seats anymore. You know, you're talking about Labour losing control of councils in the next week or so, in the next week, where they have been in power for 100 years. Just look at the disaster that is going to be Wales for them. Just look at what's going to happen to them in Scotland. Just look at what's going to happen to them in London and the big cities. That's a really, really very important.
Well, that's right. So the big threat on the left now is the Green Party. Why are they so dangerous?
Well, they're so dangerous because what they've done is they've become a touchstone for all those loonies who were actually in the left wing, the Momentum people, the Jeremy Corbyn fans, but also it's become a dustbin as well, the Green Party, for anybody who is dissatisfied anywhere else. You know, people used to go to the Lib Dems. This is far more exciting, particularly as they have climbed on. I'm looking at a picture here of the leader, Zach Polanski.
Captain Cleavage.
Yeah, standing there in front of a Palestinian flag at a pro-Palestinian rally in London. That's where he's going. We've seen this week, haven't we, the utter disgrace of him liking a tweet attacking the police for taking down the guy who is accused of stabbing to three now, in fact, isn't it? 3 attempted murder charges.
Correct.
Right, and that footage, and he supported an attack on the police who were trying to take this guy down. Yes, the guy he was complaining they were kicking him because he was he'd been tasered.
Right.
Well, yeah, he had, but if you look, he's still got hold of the knife. He's got a backpack on that could contain anything. They needed to control him, and in that fear of that moment, you know, if it was me, if I'd had a gun, I'd have shot him. You know, I
all day long.
Well, you wouldn't have.
The guy's got a knife in his hand. Do you think American cops would put up with that nonsense?
No, it's just
good luck.
Or anywhere else, you see footage.
Oh, but it was a man of colour, and this could be the George Floyd moment.
Well,
that's how these people think, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's
a man of colour with a knife who's just tried to kill 2 Jews or 3.
Yeah, that's right. You know, what are you going to do? In Europe now, we're actually starting to see the police forces in both France and Italy are not taking any more of this nonsense. They are not.
No, they're not
having these violent
I've seen
demonstrations.
The videos. No, they're dragging people off.
Yeah, they're not sort of, because they realise all it does, because this is sport, of course, these rallies. This is, you know, a bit like going to the arena in the, you know, the ancient Roman Empire, right? This is fun. This is where you go and you can kick off and you can be excited and you mask up. You know, there is a basic thing that would reduce these rallies by at least half, I think. Ban masks. Ban the ability...
What a brilliant idea. So you can have your free speech, but we want to see you.
Yeah. If you have got something to say...
I love that.
If you've got something to say, I might disagree with it, but let me look at you and hear you say it. Have the courage to look me in the eye and say it. Ban masks at rallies.
Well, it's an inspired idea from my brilliant guest, one of the most respected and experienced journalists in the country, the former executive editor of the News of the World, Neil Wallace, with me in the studio. And we've got so much coming up. Dolan's Dispatch at 9 a.m. And a simple question this morning at 6:59 on a Saturday. Can a new leader save Labour? That's next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Three minutes past 7, top of the morning. I'm Mark Dolan. This is Talk Breakfast. Happy Saturday, one and all. And of course, it is a bank holiday weekend, so whether you're working or not, it's lovely to have your company. Lots to get through. Breaking this morning, he is streetings ahead. Wes has the numbers. An assault on the leadership of Keir Starmer is anticipated in just a week's time, following what is expected to be a catastrophic set of local election results. Meanwhile, this programme has been told Angela Rayner is sounding out support from backbenchers and the trade unions. And waiting in the wings, Andy Burnham, Mayor of Manchester, Greater Manchester, thinks that he has a safe seat and could be back in the Commons in a matter of weeks. Now, the Prime Minister may resign after Thursday's results, at which point we'll see the mother of all beauty contests as the biggest figures in the party battle it out to become Britain's next Prime Minister. But is Starmer the devil we know? Are the alternatives worse? And will he seek to cling on and ride out this political storm? Of course, it's not impossible that the PM presses the nuclear button and calls a back me or sack me general election. What is going to happen? Now, my phone number is 0344 499 1000. The brilliant Cholope is taking your calls. And I've got a simple question this morning at 7:04 on a Saturday, on a bank holiday. Can a new leader save Labour? 0344 499 1000. Text the word talk in your message to 87222. Leave us a voice note. You can hear us on the radio, DAB+, in-app and online, or you can watch the show. Just head to YouTube, search Talk, and up we pop. The brilliant Luke is directing our TV output this morning. Dave, the engineer, is pressing the buttons. There's an ugly battle at the moment playing out between myself and Talk Sports. There is competition for the services of Dave the engineer, and it's basically me versus Alan Brazil. And just to update you, I'm winning! The brilliant Dean Spencer is back from rehab and in the saddle, although he's booked in his favourite table at Wetherspoons at exactly 10:01, which I think is a red flag. He thinks he's going in for breakfast. Good luck with that. So, folks, can a new leader save Labour? That's the conversation we are having. You can call us, you can leave a voice note, which I'm delighted to say lovely Anna has done. Take a listen to this.
Morning, Mark. Anna, sorry. No, nothing can save Labour now, but Labour will save themselves because they've got nothing to lose. That makes them very dangerous. They will become very tyrannical. They will, I suspect, rig the voting system so that maybe they'll give the votes to the immigrants, the illegals. I also think there's a possibility they'll declare a state of emergency so that they can cancel further elections. And I suspect it will all kick off when they try to cancel or antagonise the Unite the Kingdom march in 2 weeks, which I will proudly be at. Thank you, Mark.
Anna, thank you for that. The Unite the Kingdom marches, which the excellent journalist Trevor Phillips, who is a British man of colour, said was a fairly humdrum affair. The kind of people at the Unite the Kingdom march were the kind of people you would meet at the cricket club or queuing up for a pint in your local. Very important journalism from him. Of course, it was underreported how many people were at that march as well. Nick is also on a voice note. Can a new leader save Labour?
Morning, Mark. It's Nick from Loughborough. The only thing that can save Labour is a coalition pact with the Green Party, which is why it's so absolutely imperative that the right now unite to prevent such a spectre from becoming reality. Have a good weekend, Mark.
Nick, thank you for a great voice note. I'm delighted to say, with me live in the studio, one of the most experienced and respected journalists in the country, the former executive editor of the News of the World, Neil Wallace, and down the line, a legend of talk, former Met detective Peter Blexley. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. And Peter, good to see you this morning. Can a new leader save Labour?
Well, here we are. It's Selector Socialist Saturday. Will it be Burnham? Will it be Rayner? Will it be Streeting? Or, as you've pointed out, will Starmer try and cling on? Either way, we should actually rename it Lose Labour Saturday, because that's what the nation desperately needs, having been swept to power with such a huge majority on essentially what was a protest vote just to get the Tories out. once again, socialists have proven continually that they are utterly unfit, inappropriate, and incapable of running the country effectively.
It's a great job if you can get it, though, isn't it, Peter? Because Starmer's replacement, if it happens, will have up to 3 years and a healthy majority. So it's a prize that will be fought over.
Yes, and that's all the more reason why Starmer is, in this very already undignified fashion, going to cling on. It's clear that he adores the trappings of power.
Yeah.
He seems drunk on power to me, and he will cling on, no matter shamelessly it looks, no matter how damaging it is to his party, and of course, in more broader terms, to the nation. He will have to be dragged out of number 10, kicking and screaming all the way. Although if anybody ever remembers watching him on a punch bag some years ago, Starmer kicking and screaming really wouldn't be too much of a challenge for a 4-year-old.
I'd rather the punch bag was running Britain. It makes more sense. It's more compelling. Well, what about that, Neil Wallace? You are the king of the headline. From Peter Blexley, we've just heard the adjectives regarding Keir Starmer: shameless, damaging, drunk on power.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah, go figure.
And in other news...
Yes. So what's new?
The Pope goes to church every Sunday.
Yeah, that's right. You're spot on, Peter, of course, and particularly your interpretation that Starmer will cling on. I mean, don't forget, there's not many places you can get as many foreign trips as he likes to get. You know, he's not really too interested in what happens back here in Great Britain, but he does love a foreign trip, doesn't he? The big perk of the job for him, I think, is his air miles. But the problem is, while he's doing that, nothing is being resolved back here. Have you noticed, incidentally, how Rachel Reeves has essentially been put in a box and she's not allowed out to wander around spouting her nonsense about the enormous amounts of growth she's generating, etc., etc.
She's been benched, hasn't she?
She has, totally. The only time you see her is at Prime Minister's questions when she has to sit next behind Starmer, and that's to make sure...
And her main job is not to cry, by the way.
Yes.
I'm sorry, you're going to say that's to make sure that...
Well, the real reason is to make sure that she's forever branded with him, but also she has to make sure that she doesn't laugh at the wrong moments, because that's rather important with some of the things that he comes out with. How funny it would be if she actually burst out laughing at his nonsense. But there's a serious point here, isn't there? That, you know, we're having this conversation, again, as Peter pointed out, at a time of only 2 years into a 5-year parliament with a government that's got 400 MPs and it's chaos. You know, one of the great things about this show, I think, are those voice notes you get.
Yeah.
And you hear ordinary people coming in and giving their views from Loughborough, from Newcastle, from down here in London, and they're ordinary working people who just can't believe what they're witnessing. And I'm sure Peter, probably like me, agrees for the idea that I do think we're stuck with Starmer.
Wow. Well, that's a great question, Peter. What do you think? Will Starmer cling on, undignified as it may be?
Well, let's rewind to the general election campaign of 2024. And people quite rightly use the analogy that Starmer was carrying a Ming vase across an ice rink. As long as he didn't drop it, he was going to get elected into power. And of course, that's exactly what happened. He wasn't elected into Downing Street because he was seen as a wonderful leader, or that because he had such a manifesto that chimed with the public. He got into number 10 purely and simply because millions of people were sick to death of the Tory party, of their lamentable efforts at government, when they actually showed themselves to be left-wing, liberal, flaky, pathetic progressives, to be perfectly honest with you. So he got in, he had a huge majority, and what has been astonishing is just how inept he is at politics. I've never known a Prime Minister in my living years who is so bad of the day-to-day politicking. He gets it wrong time and time again, which is why we've had so many U-turns, which is why his name is so derogatorily chanted at darts matches, football matches, and many other locations around the country, and why there is a desperate need for people to see him gone. But if he's gone without a general election, we need to be very, very cautious, because as you've pointed out, what could come next? Burnham, Rayner, Streeting, more of these lunatic left-wing socialist clowns who know that they are only ever good at spending other people's money. And when that's all run out, where is the country? It's bankrupt.
Well, that's the problem. As Neil brilliantly pointed out, Peter, our viewers and listeners live in the real world, they work hard, and they get it. They can see that this Labour project is not working, and to replace the leader is the territory of deck chairs on the Titanic, isn't it?
Oh, it definitely is. And of course, there will be media outlets and commentators and writers and columnists absolutely desperate to see Starmer go, so they've got something to write and comment about. But it could be an even more dangerous thing for the nation, because if we get an even more left-wing, rampant socialist clown into number 10 Downing Street, because there's not a general election, then all they're going to do is raise more taxes, spend more of our money, waste more of our money, not stop the illegal migration nonsense, and things will simply get worse and not better.
That's the problem. Are we in a scenario now, Neil Wallace, in which Sir Keir Starmer, for his innumerable failings, is the least worst option?
Well, that's essentially what Peter is pointing out there, isn't it? And it's what, frankly, I've been going on about in the studio for some months, because I don't believe that if we're sat here in a month's time, I'm afraid Starmer will still be the Prime Minister, because quite rightly, what's the alternative? So can a new leader save Labour? I don't think they can. So therefore, they will think, well, we better stick with the joker we've already got.
And of course, we know, don't we, Neil, that Starmer is a ruthless operator and a very driven and ambitious man. He won't go without a fight.
Absolutely will not. Absolutely will not. One of the broadsheets this morning suggests that Andy Burnham will offer him to do a deal and say, you become the Foreign Secretary and I will become the Prime Minister. And because he does love a plane trip, does Starmer.
And he's an internationalist, he's a globalist.
Yeah,
he prefers
absolutely.
Davos to Westminster.
Yeah, he prefers Europe, Brussels, not the
Strasbourg.
United States anymore,
No.
because he's unwelcome there. But so that's one of the projections as a way to get him out without a battle. But if he doesn't decide to go, it's going to be very messy. And who follows Starmer? Because you look at them and you cannot see a white knight anywhere at all. The calibre of this Labour government compared to some of the people who came in when Blair came to power. Never forget, when the last Labour government before this were kicked out, the Gordon Brown government, the then Financial Secretary of the Treasury left a note for his Tory successor saying, sorry, all the money's gone. There's nothing left.
Liam Byrne. And
Liam Byrne.
Cameron used that note to win the election.
Yeah.
It was in his pocket and he brought it out at every hustings, and it was very powerful. Can I ask you, Neil, and by the way, are you able, alongside Peter Blexley, to stay with us till 7:30? Is that possible?
Well, I'll look at my busy schedule.
Well, and I know you've got an appointment.
2 minutes past a freckle.
Glad to hear it. The fragrant Mrs. Wallace is looking forward to egg and sausages with you in a few minutes' time. But if we can delay that briefly, because not only are the numbers through the roof, but secondly, we want to hear your words of wisdom, and I know Peter would like to hang on to you as well. Can I ask you, before the break, what is the story with Angela Rayner? Because you've been looking at this. What happened in the House of Commons around a week ago?
It wasn't that long ago. It was earlier this week.
Was it Monday? Something
not
like
sure
Monday or
what
Tuesday?
day. If you,
Early in the week.
If you read Dan Hodges, brilliant columnist, brilliant journalist in the Daily Mail, he did a whole column about this yesterday that is literally jaw-dropping to read. He was there, and she was in the Strangers Bar. And
do you know what is the Strangers Bar for those that don't know?
Okay, in the House of Commons there's a number of bars, you'd be astonished to hear, but the Strangers Bar is where basically MPs go and mingle, and it's, if you're on the election trail, it's a very good place to be seen hobnobbing with your potential voters, as it were. And she was there sort of being seen, and which is a very important part of being a politician. Unfortunately, she was seen with too many people having a quick drink with me, Angela. Oh, okay then. And apparently there may have been one too many consumed, to the point where she stormed out eventually. Nobody knows exactly what the conversation was, shouting, I am a socialist. And she walked out and she walked into a door. Brilliant. Which unfortunately was closed. And there's some suggestion whether the door was damaged or it wasn't. Her people have been saying, no, this is just a misogynistic anti-Rayner story. Dan Hodges says, I was there, I saw it, it happened.
I'm a socialist, allegedly walks into a door. Is this becoming Peter Bleksley of a future Prime Minister?
Well, Angela Rayner, of course, is fortunate enough to be able to afford to be a socialist. I'm saving up to be a socialist because it clearly takes an awful lot of money. Look, she's a tax dodger. Okay, it's quite simple. And the matter apparently still remains unresolved. She is fundamentally unfit for high office. It's as simple.
Is she a drunk?
Well, Winston Churchill liked to drink, and he's the greatest Prime Minister we've ever had. So I think enjoying a drink does not necessarily preclude you from high office. But she's a tax dodger. And it's as simple as this. When they get elected into power, so many of these socialists, not only do they get drunk on that power, but they love the inflated salaries, the ministerial cars, and all the other trappings, and they line their own nests. They feather their own nests and seem to go on a quest to earn as much money as they possibly can, whereas I used to think those elected into politics actually wanted to do good for their electorate.
Well, coming up on Talk Breakfast, I'm delighted to say we're keeping Peter Bleksley and Neil Wallace. You will not believe this story. There are plans for English-speaking tests to go online, and a top Labour peer has said that migrants will cheat the system. This is a national scandal. This is an accident waiting to happen. We've got the inside story. That's next.
Starmer fueling anti-Semitism?
I don't think he's doing anything to deal with anti-Semitism. The attempt to gaslight the British people and the Jewish community is appalling.
This has to stop. It's almost being normalised, and it's terrifying, and we're sick of it. Enough's enough.
Don't be shocked, and don't you bloody dare claim to be shocked or upset or care about Jewish people being stabbed on the streets of our capital city in broad daylight. This is on you.
And they sent us a picture that made me feel so ashamed. We look like hoarders.
Chris Marshall!
Yeah, I'm actually recovering from an accident right now.
You've landed loose today, haven't you?
Yeah, don't shake the arm, Chris, too much.
You're with Danny Boyle, who's like the maddest director ever. He's got so much energy. He's like you.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
7:24, this is Talk Breakfast on a Saturday morning on a bank holiday weekend. I hope the weather's going to be good, and I hope that you've got at least a little bit of time off. Can a new leader save the Labour Party? With me in the studio, the former executive editor of the News of the World, Neil Wallace, and former Met detective Peter Blexley. And what a story this is. Quite a shocker, Neil Wallace. There are concerns that as English-speaking tests go online, migrants will cheat the system. What's the story?
This is all... You know what, I read a lot of newspapers. I have not read anything quite as lunatic as this for a long time from a... I know this is a sort of collapsing Labour government, but this idea is lunatic. So the idea that they've come up with, you know, all those migrants who want to come here, who can't speak our language and don't have our qualifications for the jobs here. So they are now saying that they're going to have, so they're already kind of language tests and aptitude tests, etc. This Labour government quite seriously are saying we are not actually going to have to get them to do this in person now. They can do it online. So in other words, they can just sit there in front of a computer screen, right, with their mobile phone propped up there, with the AI going like crazy, and do these tests that will enable them to come into this country and work and do whatever they want and get on the benefits roundabout. And this is all, we're about to spend £800 million to bring this in.
And they can basically cheat the system and pretend they're William Shakespeare or Sir Peter Ustinov.
Precisely.
And in fact, they haven't got a blinking syllable of the language.
So they used to, currently they do it by almost an exam room type.
In controlled conditions.
Invigilators, everything. Now, no, they're going to be able to do it. Can you imagine this? You know how organised crime, as soon as they realised the money to be made from crossing the channel, they piled into it. Because that was a quick way to make money. We've already seen stories after stories. There was one only the other week about people setting up companies to coach immigrants, to coach migrants in how to beat the system. They're already out there. One of them, do you remember, was claimed to be gay, then they can't send you back to your country where you come from. That was just literally a few weeks ago. Well, now... this is absolutely golden for the criminal classes. Do we not think that this will be ruthlessly exploited? And it's almost childlike stupidity, because Does the system get gamed if they can? Answer, yes. We're about to pay someone 800 million to make this possible. It is, honestly, the politics of the madhouse.
It is the politics of the madhouse. Peter Bleksley, Labour will be making a fundamental mistake if it goes ahead with plans to test migrants' English language skills online, according to the Chancellor of Cambridge University, who is Lord Smith, a cabinet minister under Tony Blair. He warned that these plans, which, as Neil has pointed out, will cost almost £1 billion to replace in-person tests with a fully online approach, will be exploited by cheats. We are being mightily mugged off, aren't we?
Yes, and there's very little that I can add to Neil's brilliant summary of the abject lunacy of this proposal. Yeah, you'll remember Lord Smith, formerly Chris Smith, the Labour minister from some years ago, calling it a cheats charter. But there's a deeper, much deeper, more concerning element to this story, I believe. We're going to see a lot more of this. If the Labour government limps on for another 3 years and it knows it's going to get bombed out of office, then what it's going to do, it's going to adopt a scorched earth policy. And it is going to put through socialist legislation which will be so incredibly damaging to this nation. And it's going to try and get as much of it onto the statute book as it possibly can, as it knows it is heading for the exit door. Be afraid, be very afraid. We're going to get more lunatic socialist nonsense like this as they ever increasingly turn this once great nation into giveaway Great Britain.
Well, most definitely, Peter, whether it's open borders or undoing Brexit, net zero, or pushing us further into the red, how irreversible do you think some of Labour's damage will be once they leave office?
It will be deeply damaging, and like the whole political correctness movement started in '97 by Blair and his acolytes, it's going to be incredibly difficult to strip out, which is why any party that wants to have the reins of government at the next general election, it's got to be upfront and it's got to be honest with the electorate. And it's got to say, we're going to need 2 terms. We'll need 10 years at least to bring the pendulum back from so far left, where the progressives, the liberals, the fluffy, the woke, the quite frank lunatic lefties have pushed it, to get it back towards the right of the centre of the political spectrum. It will take at least 2 terms. The damage is so catastrophic. The roots are as deep as Japanese knotweed, and it's going to take a long time to try and rescue this country.
Well, I totally agree with you, Peter. I think a future administration will need 10 years. They'll need 2 terms. They'll need a healthy majority as well. Peter, before we let you go, do you think that some kind of coalition between Reform and the Tories will be necessary to keep the lefties out of power?
With each and every passing day, I get more and more concerned at how fractured the centre-right vote is becoming. Because, of course, we've got Advance, we've got Restore, we've got Reform, we've got the Tories, we've got a number of people all vying for that right of centre vote at the next general election. The only thing that consoles me somewhat is that the lunatic left is getting fractured between the Lib Dems, the Greens, who quite frankly have just become a home for every lunatic left-wing nut job in the land, and of course the socialists, and we all know what they're doing. It's going to be difficult, it's going to be tricky. I think whatever side of the political spectrum people are on, if they want to get the reins of power, there's going to have to be a coming together.
Peter, that's a really interesting account. Fantastic to see you again. Look forward to your next appearance on the show. The brilliant Peter Bleksley, former Met detective. What do you make of that, Neil? We took a voice note earlier, didn't we, from someone that really wants change in the country, wants common sense policies, but has said actually the right will have to unite, given that Labour could team up with the Greens, the Lib Dems and the SNP.
Peter touched on a very important point there. A point that is if you like, encapsulated by the Human Rights Act. Now, when Labour brought in the Human Rights Act, they didn't just bring it in. They made sure that it was infested right through government. And they put it into all sorts of odd bits of legislation, the result of which was, if you today try to undo and repeal the Human Rights Act, it's almost impossible, because it's been woven, it was woven by the Labour Party into every aspect of legislation.
So a small change to policy, you're breaking the law, it's not going to be possible. And the civil servants will say, sorry, computer says no.
Sorry, computer says no. And that is what this lot will do as well. As you can see with the Angela Rayner Employment Act, as it were, that's just come out. You know, there is a truth in life, which is every action has a reaction, right? And it's just, you know, they've just brought out this all singing, all dancing Renters Act this week, which affects the way that people can rent property and the duties of people who own properties and rent them out, right? That will turn out to have all sorts of ramifications. Not least, people will say, I'm not going to go with that now. I will take my money out. I will sell up. I will take my money elsewhere, because it will prove to be bureaucratic and riddled with problems. And this is the problem with legislation. Too big government causes too many problems. And that's simply a reality.
Well, 2 quotes for you. Ronald Reagan, who said the worst 9 words in the English language are, hello, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. And then the other line is that the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Absolutely.
Is it not? Well, Neil, always a privilege to have you on the show. Mrs. Wallace is a lucky lady, and it's sausage and eggs with 2 slices of toast and, what is it, a latte?
White Americano.
White American. Yeah, you wouldn't go for a latte. You're not woke, are you?
Oh, no.
a red-blooded, highly caffeinated cup of brew for the brilliant Peter Brexley, and my thanks to excellent Neil Wallace. So much more to come. Folks, let's take a quick voice note. Can a new leader save Labour? Here is Matt.
Good morning, Mark. Matty Waddington loading the van. I'm getting a bit fed up of people saying Angela Rayner is working class. She's never worked in her life. She's been a single mother, and she's got through to where she's got by working in charities and support groups and all the rest of it. She's never gone out and worked at 6 o'clock in the morning and had people looking after the kids and worked hard. Because otherwise, if she knew what real working parents do, she wouldn't be bringing all these stupid laws in. Because you know they're stupid, because she hasn't got a clue. None of this Labour Party have got a clue, because none of them have worked. Labour's meant to be about the working class, not one of them are working class. My mum was a shop steward. She got equal pay for the women back in the 80s at the cooker factory. That's working class for you. That's people who go out doing 12-hour shifts, 6-7 days a week. This Labour Party, they all live in Islington and have their little wine parties and sit in the gardens going, oh, we'll do this. Clueless. Hopefully the banks will pull the plug and we'll get a general election. Great show.
Thank you, Matt. It is possible the banks will pull the plug. You're quite right to raise that possibility, Matt. That is the view of Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform UK. He thinks an economic crisis could spark an early general election. He's told his people to be ready next year to go to the polls. My thanks to Neil Wallace and to Peter Blexley. Can a new leader save Labour? Your call's next.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
You are listening to Talk Breakfast. It is 7:40. Dolan's dispatch at 9 o'clock. King Charles addressed two houses of Congress in the United States. He gave his State of the Union. I'm giving my State of the Union at 9 o'clock. It's my response to what King Charles has had to say, and I promise you, you don't want to miss it. Voice notes. Let's have a conversation about a future Prime Minister. Can a new leader save Labour? Here is Carl.
Hi, Mark. Carl in Bury. Andy Burnham's my mayor. What an absolute disaster he is. You go outside of central Manchester, Salford area, and the more highly populated areas of the city, which tend to be Labour, the guy is hated. He's wasted millions of pounds on stupid cyclops schemes for cyclists, where you've got giveaway signs and pelican crossings and traffic lights, roundabouts for cyclists. It's just ridiculous. He spent millions on putting up clean air zone cameras because he's net zero crazy. But then ended up scrapping it, and the camera's still sat there after spending tens and hundreds of millions of pounds on it. And now, worst of all, he's decided to his Spaces for People project is building on thousands of acres of green belt in the area when there's actually brown belt available. The guy's an absolute disaster, and if he became PM, Labour are finished. So I suppose there's always a bright side to every situation. Cheers, Mark.
Brilliant voice note. Carl, thank you for that. You're not the only one, Carl, that thinks Andy Burnham is a dud, the emperor with new clothes. Dominic Cummings, the former Chief of Staff under Boris Johnson, the mastermind behind Vote Leave, has said that the guy is completely useless. And what about Adam Cherry, the excellent journalist at Guido Fawkes, the political website, who has revealed Andy Burnham's manifesto for number 10, rejoin the European Union, break the fiscal rules to borrow more money, a wealth tax, more devolution, including tax powers, a council tax revaluation, a land value tax. Spend, innit? More tax, more spend, no growth. Welcome to hell. Grace is in London. Good morning, Grace.
Morning.
Would a change of leader improve your attitude towards this government? Can a new leader save Labour?
It's hard to say. I mean, the polling would suggest that Andy Burnham would be slightly more popular, according to YouGov polling.
Sure.
For me personally, and I know that you and most of your listeners will think I'm completely off my rocket, but I'm really angry with some of the things that Starmer has done in particular. For instance, cutting programs to prevent atrocities against people in the war in Sudan right now. He's cut programs to protect girls in our world from FGM. He's cut programs to tackle microbial diseases.
Which are all important, aren't they? And that's the very positive side of foreign aid, as opposed to, as opposed to the Ethiopian Spice Girls or helping India with their space program.
Yeah, and I'm not denying that there are problems in this country. I've got various problems in my life to do with how the country's being run. So I'm not saying that there aren't things going on here that matter as well. But I'm really upset that the government would cut those programmes that were really helping people.
Fair enough.
So for that reason, though I've always voted Labour, I'm not planning on voting for them at the next election unless something changes. So it could be that a change of leader gets back voters like myself. Some people are angry with Starmer because of what he said at the beginning of the conflict in Gaza, when he said it was okay that they would cut off electricity and food and water. And I don't know what to say about the conflict in Gaza because it's so complicated, but that was something that Starmer specifically did that lost him a lot of Labour
on LBC, on Nick Ferrari, and that upset you, those flippant comments about the consequences of the war in Gaza?
Yeah, I think, as I said, the situation there is horribly complicated, so I'm not wanting in any way to suggest that one should take the side of Gaza over Israel, but I do think that the civilian population in Gaza should not be without food and water and electricity.
Yeah.
So on a number of fronts, Starmer has done things that seem to me and to some other people who have been Labour voters to not really care enough about human beings. And so it could be that to change the Labour leader might actually get back some of those of us who are not planning on giving Labour our vote again.
Well, Grace, I'm really, really glad that you've called the show, and I want you to speak to us regularly as a disgruntled Labour voter. Very briefly, because the clock's against us, is there a name that you've got in mind who would give you confidence in this government if they took over?
It's hard to say. I would need to spend a lot of time digging down into the different positions that each of the front runners have on different things. I quite like how Wes Streeting, a little while ago, changed his position on the gender issue, because he had been, so far as I understand, quite supportive of the trans movement, and then he looked at it in more detail and he essentially said that he realised he'd been wrong.
Especially puberty blockers for kids, right?
Yeah, and I think for a politician to have that humility is a really positive thing.
Oh, yes, and a politician that's willing to escape their echo chamber and to rethink maybe a bad policy. Grace, thank you for that. Let's speak very soon if we can. Very curious to hear your thoughts about the state of the Labour Party as someone that has voted for them in the past. James is in Sheffield. James, I hear you're parked up on the motorway. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you? I'm just on the way down to Great Yarmouth to help campaign for Restore Britain, Great Yarmouth first.
Well, lots of people really like Restore Britain. They really like Rupert Lowe. What are your thoughts about the current state of our politics?
Well, I think the quicker the country goes bankrupt now, I think the better. It would cause me problems because I'm a property developer, so that would obviously shove up interest rates. But the way that we've got it now, it's a bit like a friend who's a gambler or a drug addict, and you keep lending them money. Whilst you would never get it back from them, we would have to repay our country's debts. So the faster they refuse to lend us any more money, the faster that reckoning comes, because then we've ran up less debt on the national credit card.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're so right about that. I mean, it's the idea of giving a drunk person more money is an excellent metaphor. Do you think a new leader could improve the fortunes of this country? Can a new leader save Labour, James?
No, I don't think they can, because if you look at what every Labour government has done, we've always ended up in this position. Now, we started in a bad position because the last Conservative coalition government was effectively the heir to Blair, which is what David Cameron called himself. So he'd moved us closely up to the side of the Labour Party, or the New Labour, because they tried to come a bit to the right to become acceptable to the electorate. So really what we've had is successive socialist governments, and that 14-year coalition, they didn't repeal any of the stuff that is now doing all the damage. All the damage we've got now is caused by Tony Blair, but he was very, very clever in the way that his policies have taken time to germinate and come through. Obviously, he put the funding in place for the human rights lawyers, which ironically are the terrorist lawyers, which his wife was, Sherry Blair, and where Keir Starmer's earned his money from, taking away our human rights to give them to the terrorists.
Oh, mate, the list goes on, doesn't it? James, I wish we had longer. Very interesting call. You back Rupert Lowe and Reform UK. You love your country and you love the flag. More power to you. James, call me again soon. Lots more to come. This is Talk Breakfast.
Is Starmer fueling anti-Semitism?
I don't think he's doing anything to deal with anti-Semitism. The attempt to gaslight the British people and the Jewish community is appalling.
This has to stop. It's almost being normalised, and it's terrifying, and we're sick of it. Enough's enough.
Don't be shocked, and don't you bloody dare claim to be shocked or upset or care about Jewish people being stabbed on the streets of our capital city in broad daylight. This is on you.
Olivia Moore!
And they sent us a picture that made me feel so ashamed. We look like hoarders.
Chris Marshall!
Yeah, I'm actually recovering from an accident right now.
You've landed loose today, haven't you?
Yeah, don't shake the arm, Chris, too much.
You're with Danny Boyle, who's like
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
You are listening to Talk Breakfast. It is 7:51. And how did King Charles's speech to two houses of Congress go down in Montecito, California, with Harry and Meghan? Who better to ask than Sarah Louise Robertson, royal and entertainment journalist at the Daily Mail. Good morning, Sarah Louise.
Good morning to you, Mark. Oh, have we got a cork out of a show coming up now?
It's going to be massive. I need to ask you what you're hearing about how King Charles's trip to the United States went down in California with the Duke and Duchess.
Oh, well, this is interesting, Mark. Now, we've just seen the most successful repairing of the transatlantic alliance between our great monarch, King Charles, and I'm going to keep calling him King Charles the Great instead of King Charles III, because he has saved that alliance between ourselves and the wonderful United States of America. So all hail King Charles the Great. But there's another transatlantic alliance which isn't doing very well, and you know what that one is, Mark, and that is the alliance between Charles's errant second son, Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, and his wife, the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle, in Montecito. Apparently the alliance now, as we have known for a long time, is frozen in deep ice. Not even the ice in Siberia, Alaska compares to the ice between the king and his youngest born right now. Harry didn't even watch the speech, I'm told. He didn't even bother to tune in, not while it was happening live, but even afterwards. He's completely ignored it. Now, this is unprecedented, Mark, that we've seen this. This is an enormous snub from Harry and Meghan Markle to King Charles and Queen Camilla. I mean, this speech, Mark, you must agree, was one of the greatest speeches we've ever heard delivered by a member of the royal family. I miss our late Queen terribly, but even she herself would doff her tiara, doff her crown to King Charles and say he did her memory proud. It was an absolutely fantastic speech. He had both sides of Congress standing in awe, absolute awe at what the king was saying. And to unite the house in what he did was just incredible. So testament to him. He is marvellous, and we are so lucky to have our wonderful, clever King Charles. But as for Harry and Meghan, well, we know they've burnt their bridges. We know that. I've said that many times on your show, Mark, but they really has. There is no way back for them. Even Trump alluded it to the Daily Mail royal biographer, Robert Hardman, and he said, oh boy, that wife of his, as in implying that Meghan Markle had done something of a number on Prince Harry. So I think that's how the way Trump's looking at it. Now, I have been told as well from Trump's side that Trump has said to private advisors who have spoken through intermediaries to me that he sees this debacle with Harry and Meghan as a private family matter. He doesn't really want to wade into it. He thinks the most wonderful things about King Charles. He thinks the most wonderful things about Prince William and Princess Catherine, which again he extolled to Robert Hardman and has said as well in other press interviews. So he loves our royal family. That cannot be disputed. But when it comes to Meghan and Harry, I've been told Trump now sees it as a private family matter and it's just going to be taken a step back from those things and leaving it between the King and Harry and Meghan to sort out between themselves. On the other hand, I've been told, Mark, sorry, and I will let you come in with a question in a second.
This is all gold, and my viewers and listeners on Talk and on the Mark Dolan Show on YouTube are hanging on every word.
Well, I hope so. So listeners, we'll shut up in a second because I know they sometimes get impatient. I'll get to my point. But yes, I've been told from the other side that Harry and Meghan were deeply hurt that King Charles and Camilla did not make time for them during this 4-day state visit, which I find just ludicrous and appalling from Prince Harry. And another example to follow on from what I said to you last week, Mark, is the spoilt, petulant attitude that the Sussexes have towards the King and the royal family, that they expect special favours, special privileges to have the King's busy schedule accommodate to fit them. Now, this is a state visit planned by the British government. The King was there on business. He's not there in the US on a jolly. He's not there on a holiday. That is completely different. He is there on government state business, doing his job, which is that of being king, and he is doing it with great aplomb, cannot be faulted, 10 out of 10, bonuses, rises, all the rest. However, Harry and Meghan, spoilt, don't understand the concept of running a business, Mark. As we know, their businesses are not really doing terribly well.
They all flop.
Commercial ventures,
everything
exactly,
they touch flops.
Well, they need to take a leaf out of the King's book, the King's Book of Duty. The King is setting the greatest example of what hard work, what duty is, showing up, turning up, committing to something and not being distracted. That's something that Harry and Meghan need to learn from our King. But they don't, Mark. And why do they not? Because they're spoilt, they're petulant, they think they know better, they think they're clever, and I've said that again to you and I'll say it again now. They think they're cleverer than us, they think they know it all, and they think they deserve better treatment. Well, no. Harry, Meghan, you have burnt through the Sandringham Summit. You've burnt through it. You have burnt through every bridge. You've even now managed to offend the likes of Anna Wintour, Dame Anna Wintour, head of Vogue, the most powerful woman in fashion in the world.
A woman nearly as well dressed as you.
Oh, thank you, Mark. I wish, but I think Anna Wintour would disagree. But we digress. Lauren Sanchez Bezos, Jeff Bezos' wife. Now, some people might say, what about Lauren? Lauren and Jeff now are very powerful in American society. We know Bezos has the Washington Post, and they're now the sponsors of the Met Gala Ball, which is coming up on Monday, Mark. Meghan has been snubbed. She's not been invited. No, she's not there. And that's because she has offended Dame Anna Wintour, it's been said. And she's offended Lauren, who tried to make a friend of Meghan several years ago and was inviting her to things, but Meghan snubbed her. And Meghan was reported to have called Lauren trashy. Well, people don't forget, Mark, when you call them names. They don't forget. And so Lauren has now ignored Meghan and has took a step back and has said, okay, you think I'm trashy? You do you. You do you. I'll do me. And so Meghan is not at that Met Gala on Monday, but someone else is, another British aristocrat, a beautiful British Black aristocrat, and that is the Marchioness of Bath, Lady Emma Weymouth.
Oh my goodness, upstaging Meghan, and they're devastated because Charles didn't meet them. Charles has finally grown a backbone. Sarah Louise Robertson, world-class journalism from the Daily Mail, royal and entertainment journalist. We'll catch up very soon. This is Talk Breakfast.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Past 8, Mark Dolan Talk Breakfast. Happy Saturday, one and all. I hope you're getting some time off in the course of this bank holiday weekend. Well, I'm delighted to say that I'm on air, on the home of common sense. Today, of course, on Talk Breakfast. Tomorrow as well from 6 a.m. And I'm covering for Ian Collins on Monday, 1 till 4. Do join me. Breaking this morning, he is streetings ahead. Wes has the numbers. An assault on the leadership of Keir Starmer is anticipated in just a week's time following what's expected to be a catastrophic set of local election results. Meanwhile, this programme has been told Angela Rayner, the ginger growler herself, is sounding out support from backbenchers and the trade unions. Plus, waiting in the wings, big Andy Burnham thinks that he's got a safe seat he can access. He reckons he'll be in the Commons in a matter of weeks. So Burnham's in, Rayner's in, Streeting is in. So my question to you this morning is a simple one. Can a new leader save Labour? 03444991000. The brilliant Solopay is taking your calls this morning. She's doing a great job, I've got to tell you. Full switchboard. Dave the engineer is pressing the buttons today, of course, making us all sound so good. If you want to see the show, head to YouTube, search Talk and up we pop. And you may want to, because it's a very exciting, very powerful show to watch with Dolan's Dispatch, where anything can happen. You'll see my amazing guests as well. And you'll see when I just had enough of this Labour government destroying the country. I vent my anger, but you'll only see the full excesses of my rage on YouTube as I hurl newspapers at the camera because I've had enough. And seriously, what do you think? Can a new leader save Labour? Text the word TALK in your message to 87222. Leave us a voice note, and as the saying goes, let's talk. Let's do so in the company of an elite-level political broadcaster and former Conservative MP, Sir Michael Fabricant. Good morning, Sir Michael.
Good morning, Mark.
Is a replacement of the Labour leader simply the shifting of deck chairs on the Titanic?
There is a problem with the cabinet, don't we know it? And the problem is that structurally they seem to be unable to make decisions. For example, only about 5-6 weeks ago, you had the Defence Secretary saying that the British would be boarding Russian ships, ghost ships, those illegal tankers going through the Channel. Now, the French have boarded them. The British haven't boarded a single one. And why is that? Because of the structural weakness of the cabinet. You've got people like Hermer, who is the Attorney General, Lord Hermer, saying you can't do this, it's illegal. You've got others who are saying it's illegal as well, and what would the consequences be? You know, these people are incapable of making decisions. They've never made decisions in their lives about anything. They're racked with doubt. So you get all these fine statements from Starmer, lots of things he's going to do. It all sounds very good at the time, and nothing happens. So I don't think it will make a huge difference.
Well, of course, you know so much about how the House of Commons operates. You're a former Conservative MP. It's more difficult, is it not, for a Labour Prime Minister to be defenestrated? The mathematics are more of a challenge. Plus, it's just not in the culture or tradition of the Labour Party to ditch their leaders.
Yes, that's right. Unfortunately, it's only too easy in the Conservative Party to ditch its leaders. They've changed the rules recently in the Conservative Party from 15% to 30%. And what happens if 30% of people, MPs, Conservative MPs, were to write in and say to the chairman of the 1922, we want a leadership challenge, then it goes ahead. Now, with Labour, it's a bit different. It's lower than 30, it's 20%, but you actually have to come up with a potential leader. So unlike the Conservatives, where you just write in and say you've got no confidence in the leader, and then the race begins, somebody has got to stand up front. So Wes Streeting or Andy Burnham, if he becomes an MP, and that's a big if, would have to actually say, we're challenging Starmer for the leadership. Now, the problem with that is one thing that politicians learned when... Do you remember all those years ago? You're far too young to do that. But when Michael Heseltine challenged Margaret Thatcher...
Of course I do. Tarzan. That would have been what?
He didn't get it.
Was it 89 or 90 that he actually threw his hat in the ring?
Ooh, I don't know. I can't remember.
It was around that time, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was about 88, 89, actually, yeah. But basically, there seems to be a general rule now in politics where people think that the first person to make the move loses. The person who wields the axe loses. So will Wes Streeting have the guts? Will he have the courage? Will he have the confidence to make that move? Now, I understand from friends in the House of Commons that he thinks he has got that 20%, so he could do a challenge. And it all depends what happens in the local elections. So some people are saying that if Labour lose more than 1,500 seats in the local elections, then the challenge will happen from Wes Streeting or maybe someone else. Could be a stalking horse. Could be Dave Robertson, the new MP for Lichfield. Where I am now, who knows? But the point is someone has to put up, and then the whole thing is open. But some polls are now saying that Labour could lose as many as 2,000 seats. Who knows? But we'll find out soon enough after the elections on May 7th.
And, Michael, you don't just understand the machinations of the House of Commons, you know how the press work as well. And it's not an accident, is it, that we've got front page news that Streeting has the numbers. That will have been planted by his team. They are on manoeuvres.
Well, I listened to Wes Streeting on The World at One, a Radio 4 programme yesterday. Can I mention them? Am I allowed to?
What happened to your DAB Plus radio? Was it faulty?
Yes, I think somehow I'd tuned it into Talk Radio, and it somehow sprung over to Radio 4. I don't know how that happened.
Well, I'm delighted to say that Julia Hartley-Brewer has shown me a hack where you can delete all of the other radio stations, so it's only Talk, and that way you can actually trust your radio.
I'll have to do that. I'll have to, a bit like the Germans did in the Second World War, where people were issued with Volksradio.
No, I mean, joking apart, I encourage everyone, including my audience, to have a broad media diet because it's important to hear what all the outlets are saying.
But interestingly, Wes Streeting was challenging his own government yesterday and saying we have got to actually do things and listing things that should be done following the Golders Green stabbings.
Yeah.
And he was saying how shocked he is and how he was hinting that the government seems paralysed and unable to actually do anything, only just talk fine words. And I thought, well, that was a very interesting statement from Wes Streeting, a very brave statement, and not something that perhaps other ministers would say, because it was an implicit criticism of Keir Starmer's leadership. But who knows? He may well say, you know, the time isn't right. And meanwhile, you've got Andy Burnham, who is waiting to become a member of Parliament, because, of course, he isn't a member of Parliament at the moment. And if he wants to stand, he's got to be selected. And don't forget, he was blocked last time by Keir Starmer and the Labour Party National Executive from standing in a by-election. He says that he's got, or his supporters say, that he's got 20 or more Labour MPs who are willing to stand down in so-called safe seats to allow him to become a member of Parliament in a by-election. But are there any safe seats anymore? Can you stand somewhere in a by-election and actually think you'll get elected? There's no guarantee he would actually get elected. And all that takes time. So if Wes Streeting wants to become leader of the Labour Party, he's got to move fast. And the rumours are that he will move fast within 48 hours of a disastrous Labour election result. But who knows? Maybe Labour will do well in the local elections. So if the mood in Lichfield is anything to go by, I doubt it.
Pigs might fly. Sir Michael, is there any talent within the Labour Party that can rescue the whole project? Is there a figure sat there on those backbenches or in the cabinet who could do a good job?
Well, I mean, that is the $64,000 question. First of all, as I said at the beginning, can anyone do a good job with so many people in the cabinet who are incapable of making a decision? And don't forget, prime ministers are first amongst equals. They can't dictate to the cabinet unless, of course, you are someone with balls like Margaret Thatcher. She did dictate to the cabinet. But so many leaders don't do that. They are apparatchiks. They work within the system. And Labour cabinets seem to be incapable of making decisions. But here's a rather difficult thought. Vidya Alexson, who is the acting chief of staff, is apparently suggesting to Keir Starmer that he immediately initiates a reshuffle of the cabinet as soon as the election results are over. But what does he want to do? He wants to get rid of Rachel Reeves. Well, that has to be a blessing. But he wants to put in Ed Miliband instead as treasurer and replace the one person I think is doing a half-decent job. Shabana Mahmood, who is the Home Secretary, wants to replace her with Angela Rayner. I mean, would that be a strengthening of the
Angela
cabinet?
Rayner, Home Secretary?
I beg your pardon?
Did you say Angela Rayner, Home Secretary?
Yes.
Now, that's
Can
a
you
devastating
imagine?
thought, because this is a woman in Angela Rayner who said that Shabana Mahmood's sensible plans to make people wait 10 years for settled status was un-British.
Yep, that's absolutely right. And this is the problem with the party that accidentally people elected at the last general election, because they weren't voting Labour as such. They were voting to get the Conservatives out and had no idea that it would result in this huge Labour majority. So you have got backbenchers who are good old-fashioned, and that's in inverted commas, good old-fashioned left-wing socialists who think that Shabana Mahmood is doing a terrible job. She's flirting with the idea of allowing people not to wear burqas in the street. Like the French have said, people should not be covered up. You know, the police want to bring in automatic face recognition cameras. Well, you can't do that if you're covered up in a burqa. And she is thinking that this should be illegal, like it is in France. But, oh no, the cabinet are saying it's unconstitutional, which of course is absolute rubbish. And you've got Labour backbenchers saying that Shabana Mahmood is doing a bad job because she's too right-wing. She believes in law and order. Well, you know, this is what we're having to put up with. And can you imagine Angie Rayner? Of course, the problem that Angela Rayner has got is that she is still facing a probe by the HMRC into her tax affairs when she bought the house in Hove. And of course, wasn't that hypocrisy? Because you had a person who was housing minister saying that anyone with more than one house is evil and rotten, and yet she was buying her third home, which frankly, I don't think is any bad thing, actually. If you've got the money, do it. But you do have to pay the tax.
Most definitely. And there are allegations around Angela Rayner that earlier this week in the Strangers Bar of the House of Commons, she got drunk, stormed off yelling, "I'm a socialist," to a colleague, at which point she reportedly walked into a closed door. Now, again, you know the Strangers Bar, you know the House of Commons. What do you make of this story?
I'd not heard that before, but it's absolutely extraordinary.
Dan Hodges, who says he was there, from the Daily Mail. This is a guy who knows his onions.
Yeah, he does indeed. And the Strangers Bar, to be honest with you, is the one bar in the House of Commons I used to avoid. I used to go into there only during the day if I was going onto the terrace of the House of Commons. But the Strangers Bar does tend to produce a lot of people who get sloshed. Labour and Conservative and Lib Dem MPs, I've seen them all sloshed. I hadn't heard this story about Angela Rayner. I always used to go to another bar called the Pugin Room, which is a lovely bar in another part of the House of Commons where it's a little bit better behaved. And, you know, it's not the sort of bar where people are standing up and drinking huge amounts of alcohol. But the danger as well, of course, with the Strangers is precisely what you just described. journalists allowed in there. So if you're going to get drunk, you'll be doing it in full view of everyone else. But, you know, it's interesting listening to the point made that Angela Rayner allegedly was shouting, "I'm a socialist," because do you remember when Rachel Reeves was in tears sitting next to Keir Starmer in Prime Minister's Questions? I mean, that was incredible. Incredible that she went in, actually. She didn't have to go into the House of Commons. She's not always there. But there she was sitting in tears, allegedly only having just had an argument with Angela Rayner beforehand, which caused her to be in tears. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. But that's the story going around the Labour Party and Conservative MPs who were there at the time.
So, Michael, the clock's against us. Let's go rapid fire. Your appraisal of King Charles's trip to the United States, the current sort of condition of the special relationship, what do you think?
Well, I think it was an incredible trip. I think King Charles couldn't have done better. I don't think anyone could have done better. Will it make any difference? No. Why? Because there is no personal chemistry at all between Keir Starmer and Donald Trump. Donald Trump will have been advised by his ambassador in the UK, Warren Stevens, that Starmer is on the ropes and is pretty well loathed by most people in the United Kingdom. And Trump will say, look, when I'm dealing with Starmer, the guy is a dud. The word I've used right from the very beginning. There's no point in my being friendly with him. He can't make a decision. I don't like him. The British people don't like him. So there's no doubt that there is love between Britain and America and American Britain. I go to the United States 3 or 4 times a year and I adore the place. It's like a home from home. But as far as relationship with this government is concerned, there is no special relationship anymore.
And briefly, just a couple of seconds, if you can, Sir Michael, there are many on the political right who are struggling with the war in Iran. They're having a wobble. They're starting to think it was a colossal and historic mistake. Are you one of them?
I am not. Iran is an evil regime. Iran is the regime which not only supplies its proxies, Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis down in Yemen with weapons. These are the people who trained others to blow up British soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan. And there have been other British operations where people have been killed thanks to the Iranians. It's a rotten regime. It should not be allowed to have nuclear weapons. They are producing and admit themselves they have enriched uranium to 60%, which is, you only need 5% for peaceful use. It's quite clear that they're trying to get nuclear weapons. They are a dangerous regime and they need to be dealt with.
So, Michael, I wish we had longer. I look forward to an Excel session very soon. My thanks to elite-level political commentator Sir Michael Fabricant, who, of course, is not just a Knight of the Realm, but a former senior Conservative MP. What do you think? Will a change of leader save Labour? But next up, you won't believe this because it matters to all of us. Socialist Spain have approved plans to grant 500,000 migrants legal status. Is the same thing going to happen here if Rayner wins power? We're going to speak to a incredibly powerful Spanish journalist and activist on this next.
maddest director.
Is Starmer fueling anti-Semitism?
I don't think he's doing anything to deal with anti-Semitism. The attempt to gaslight the British people and the Jewish community is appalling.
This has to stop. It's almost being normalised, and it's terrifying, and we're sick of it. Enough's enough.
Don't be shocked, and don't you bloody dare claim to be shocked or upset or care about Jewish people being stabbed on the streets of our capital city in broad daylight. This is on you.
Olivia Marr!
And they sent us a picture that made me feel so ashamed. We look like hoarders.
Chris Marshall!
Yeah, I'm actually recovering from an accident right now.
You've landed loose today, haven't you?
Yeah, don't shake the arm, Chris, too much.
You're with Danny Boyle, who's like the maddest director ever. He's got so much energy. He's like you.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
You are listening to Talk Breakfast. Absolute chaos in Spain as the socialist government approved plans to grant 500,000 migrants legal status. You heard me right, 500,000 migrants. Well, it's kicked off this week because chaos erupted as crowds of migrants stormed the Gambian embassy in Madrid as the country was seeking to grant legal status to 500,000 people. As of last Monday, Spain's migrant regularization process was underway, with individuals waiting hours at more than 400 locations, some of them clambering over fences. Let's get reaction now from the respected Spanish politician and activist, Virginia Martinez. Hello, Virginia.
Good morning, Mark. How are you doing?
I'm very well indeed. It's brilliant to have you back on the show. Can you tell us about the chaotic scenes that we've seen in Catalonia, Andalusia and Asturias?
All over Spain, it's been shambolic. It's generating chaos in the streets in a level that you cannot imagine. There's widespread fights because the tensions are very high. There are long queues all over the country. There's a collapse of the social services office, even, like you mentioned, an assault to the Gambian embassy where people were just tumbling over the fence. All eyes are on Spain at the moment. Global media is broadcasting, and we're providing a horrible spectacle of a disorganized and dangerous country. Look, this process is drawing to Spain thousands of illegal immigrants from all around Europe and Africa who want to take advantage of this legalization. Our national police has warned that this will likely give or provide access to 1.3 million illegals. Even though the government says 500,000, we cannot believe the government anymore because people are just flooding in to get advantage of this process. But we have to remember, on top of that, that Spain has received 3.8 million immigrants in the last 4 years alone. This is a sudden influx that is very, very difficult to absorb by any country. Since Pedro Sánchez has been in power, our foreign population has soared from 12% to 20%. And this is putting high pressure on an already stressed public transportation system, housing, education, healthcare, benefit system, you name it. This is putting strain in public services, and they will become unavailable for both Spanish and immigrant. And we have to remember, this is very important, Mark, we have to remember, and this may apply to you in the future, that this legalization process has been pushed through by our Prime Minister, Pedro Sánchez, and his minority government against our will, without any vote in Congress, using a royal decree, because the majority of Spanish people oppose this plan. But his objective is to remain in power, and he will do anything he can to achieve that.
Can Spain afford to take in this many immigrants? Do you have the infrastructure? What will the impact be on the economy?
Of course we can't. We have over 1.7 trillion euros in debt. The frequent salary in Spain is 15,000 euros per year. This is very close to the national minimum wage. Taxes have been raised 93 times since Pedro Sanchez has been in power. So the impact we are perceiving from mass migration are lower salaries, higher taxes, and a collapsed social system. Our grandparents with one salary were able to raise a family, buy a property, get a car, and sometimes even buy a second home. Today, people with two salaries can only afford to rent a studio and have a cat. The vast majority of immigrants applying for this legalization and nationalization process are low-skilled. They're low-income immigrants who will end up costing more to the system than they put in. They're generally considered vulnerable, and they're in the queue always at the front for social housing and benefits, leaving the native population to pay the bill. There are 730,000 immigrants unemployed at the moment in Spain. 70% of Moroccan women do not work. Unemployment rate for immigrants is much higher than for natives. We have 3 million people unemployed in Spain and 2 million getting subsidies. So why do we really need to add any more millions into an already overloaded system?
Is immigration crime a problem?
Of course it is, and especially concerned for women rights and women safety, because I'm sure you're seeing this in the UK as well, but especially in Spain, we have dropped from spot 20 in the international, we have dropped 20 spots in the international women's safety and security ranking since 2018. We're falling behind countries like Estonia, Singapore, and the Emirates. Rapes have quadrupled since 2018, especially gang raping, which is something unheard of in Spain before these waves of immigrants are coming in. Look, we have data from one of the hospitals, only one of the hospitals in Barcelona, the Clinic Hospital, that is treating a gang-raped woman a week. And most of the perpetrators are foreigners of a certain culture. The government is actively suppressing, I imagine in the UK as well, specific data on migrant criminality, because the fairy tale they use to justify mass immigration confronts directly with the reality. From all police detentions, for example, in the Basque Country, 64% are foreigners. From all our prisoners in Spanish jails, 33% are foreigners. From all prisoners under 22 years of age, 56% are foreigners. So police reports are showing that certain countries and certain cultures have proven to be more violent, and this is a concern for all of us. In fact, a survey conducted at the beginning of the year showed that 92% of Spanish citizens feel that illegal immigration is a state problem. Even within the socialist voters, 60% of them think that immigration policies should be tightened, and 85% support the deportations of those who commit crimes.
Why have the socialist government adopted this policy, particularly granting settled status to 500,000 illegal immigrants?
Well, I think here what we have to understand is who our president is. So Pedro Sanchez is a president whose wife and brother are being investigated for influence peddling and business corruption. Several of his ministers are in jail for corruption, bribery, and embezzlement. His attorney general has been prosecuted for revealing secrets. His party has been involved in scandals where public money was used for prostitution. Several of his ministers have placed prostitutes in public companies, turning the state into a job placement agency. He has taken control of all public institutions like the prosecutor's office and has undertaken reform to control over the investigation of corruption cases. He has been governing with the far left, pro-independence parties, Bildu, who has terrorists in their ranks, and he has not been able to approve a budget since 2022. Since he has been in power, 5 international organizations have already issued warnings about corruption in Spain. So this is a president that has no limits, that knows no boundaries in what he's capable of doing to remain in power.
And no ethics.
So as you can imagine, Mark, he's not the most popular person in Spain at the moment. He cannot walk in the streets without his security detail, and his poll numbers have plummeted. Hence, he needs a new pool of voters. This is what he's trying to do. This is what he's trying to achieve with the legalization process. But there is something else, Mark, something that people may not know, outside of this legalization process, there is a more dangerous process going on, and it's a mass nationalization process happening in the background to transform the Spanish electorate for a next general election in 2027. This is very important because in parallel to these 1.3 million of illegals that we may regularize, there is a democratic memory law that passed in 2022 that allows descendants of exiled Spaniards during and after the Civil War to obtain nationality without needing to live in the country, without demonstrating effective integration, and without meeting the standard requirements they demanded for any foreigner. This law that was presented for historical reparation is really functioning as a mass production of new citizens who, without having set foot in the country or contributing anything to the system, will enjoy the right to vote. The figures speak for themselves. 2.5 million applications, more than 500,000 nationalities have been granted already. There is a 98% success rate for the applicants in this process. Many of these nationalities do not live in Spain, do not work in Spain, have not paid into the social security system, and although they will have the right to vote, they will not suffer the consequences of their political decisions. So this is the real reason why Pedro Sánchez is doing this, because he needs voters. The Spanish population do not vote for him anymore. He's just putting people into the voting system so he can rig the general election in 2027.
Because, of course, 1.3 million naturalised immigrants are not going to be voting for right-wing parties that believe in a sensible welfare policy or firm borders. That's the problem, isn't it?
Exactly. All these people that are legalised and nationalised, they're going to pay. They're going to, I mean, they're being sort of paid to vote who the government wants, because the government is the ones that are providing them with the papers, providing them with the benefits, and at the end of the day, they're going to repay back those papers.
Vote for us, we'll give you a house, we'll give you money. Meanwhile, ordinary Spanish people are working hard. They've lost their national identity. Safety is a concern. Massive impact on the economy and on infrastructure. Can Spain be saved? It's one of the greatest countries in history, one of the truly enlightened Western powers. Can the country that you love be saved, Virginia?
Well, this is a very good question, but the future, the near future, I think looks bleak. Looks bleak because of these two processes that I'm talking about. There will be millions of foreigners who will be legalized and nationalized before the next national election, who will vote, who will repay the papers that the benefits they're given, and will vote left, which could condemn us 4 more years for socialism, poverty, and crime. That is what we see with this government. But I personally have hope, because the youth have had enough. The native population of Western societies have had enough, and change is coming. And we're seeing this in global alliances where common sense and freedom of speech seem to be prevailing. So what I really hope for Spain is to see the unity of all the parties that are on the other side of socialism, on the other side of Pedro Sánchez, that they unite to oust Pedro Sánchez and the left for good, so we can recover the prosperity, safety, and democracy that we have lost. Look, we are a great nation, one we should be very proud of, and now is the time to come together, put our differences aside, and stand united against a powerful individual whose actions are driven by self-interest rather than the good of the country.
Virginia, briefly, is there a danger of demonising migrants? Is criticism of this latest policy to naturalise 500,000 or even 1 million people, is it racist?
Well, look, all this immigration process have a direct impact on the sustainability of the welfare system, because we're talking about millions of new, fully entitled users. In the last 4 years, like I mentioned, 3.8 million immigrants have come into the process, putting pressure on an already overwhelmed administrative structure, public services that are already strained, a system that is plagued with delays, inefficiency and structural gridlock. Healthcare and public transportation are overwhelmed. Education is overflowing. The justice system is exasperatingly slow, and the administration is collapsing. So after the mass nationalization, the pull factor of the mass legalization, the family reunifications, we are likely going to get millions more into the system to share what is already insufficient. So to pretend that these won't have consequences or to downplay them by using the racism card is quite simply to deny reality.
And briefly, Virginia, just on a personal level, this is devastating for you and for your fellow countrymen and women. You love Spain, it's your country, and this must be just very, very emotionally tough to see what's happening.
It is. It is devastating. Sometimes you feel that you're not strong enough to change things, but at the end of the day, this is, I think, what the Prime Minister and the government is trying to do, to make you feel powerless. But I really believe there is a silent majority that won't change in my country. There is a silent majority that, should they unite, we can change the future and the outcome of our country. And I really hope for that, because we do not want to see Spain collapse. It's one of the most beautiful countries. We have such a culture, such history that should be preserved. And we are in the brink of losing everything we have. So I really hope that for the benefit of our country and the benefit of our population, we can all unite to make Spain great again.
Virginia, more power to you. Thank you for your powerful words, and let's continue this conversation. We'll catch up again in the very near future. Virginia Martinez, Spanish politician and activist who has reflected on this story that 500,000 illegal immigrants will receive settled status in Spain. She's actually suggested that the figure is closer to 1.3 million, which has big implications for Spanish society and the economy and much besides. Your reaction, 0344 499 1000. Next up, one of the biggest broadcasters in the world. Don't go anywhere.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
You are listening to Talk Breakfast. It is 8:42. Francis Foster is one of the biggest broadcasters in the world. He is the co-star of Trigonometry, the podcast and TV show. He's also the author of a brand new book. It's called Uneducated: My Life as a Teacher and Why You Should Never Become One. Francis Foster. Can I give this book a star?
Yeah, you can. You can give it a gold tick as well.
You've done a great job. I want to get to the book in just a moment, but let's talk about the extraordinary rise of trigonometry, which got into that space very early, interviewing people from across the political spectrum, yourself and Konstantin Kisin, to debate the important issues of the day. Why did you create that show, Trigonometry?
Well, it all started after Brexit, and if you remember Brexit, it feels like a long time ago because it actually was.
It almost feels like the good old days, doesn't it?
Yeah,
There's
it
something
does.
quite innocent about it.
Yeah, it is. It is. We had an argument about a referendum. No, because what happened after Brexit, and people probably forget this, is how incredibly toxic and polarising that particular issue was. It wasn't before the referendum. Before the referendum, it was another referendum. Obviously, when Leave won, that's when the recrimination started, finger-pointing, accusations of racism, far right, all the rest of this stuff. And we thought that the narrative around Brexit was weird, to be honest.
And irrational.
And irrational. And saying that everybody who voted Brexit was thick, stupid, racist was... It didn't really make sense because my mother is a first-generation immigrant from Venezuela. She voted for Brexit. My father is a kind of centre-right liberal. He voted for Brexit because he thought that when we agreed to join the EU in, I think it was 1972, as it was known then, the Common Market, he felt that what it had basically transformed into was something that he hadn't really signed up for.
Because it was a free trade area for which Margaret Thatcher, no less, campaigned.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then there was this hypocrisy where, you know, the firebrands of the left, the Tony Benns, the Jeremy Corbyns, who weren't Brexiteers, they were Eurosceptics, as it was known. And there was just all of this nonsense being spoken. And we were just very curious because we were watching this and thinking and going, well, none of this makes sense, so let's actually try to get to the bottom of it. And from there, it just went to Brexit, and then it went to all the other issues that we now see.
COVID,
Ukraine, Gaza, the war in Iran now. So there's a lot to talk about, Mark.
Yes, and the reason why trigonometry had to exist is because establishment media were not having these conversations and were demonising certain people for wrongthink.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And you would see people coming on who actually had a very, you know, they were very reasonable, and they would come on to debate shows, whether it's the Question Times or other BBC debate shows, or on ITV or Channel 4, and you would see them getting attacked as if they were saying that they wanted, you know, the rise of the Third Reich. And what people were really frustrated about is that a lot of these people who were coming on, sort of the Brendan O'Neills of the world, they had a very mainstream opinion. Very mainstream, very sane, very rational. And for instance, the reason I use Brendan is because he would always be brought on as, you know, this token evil guy. But what he does is he represents a very sizable proportion of the population.
Well, most definitely. And what's interesting about you and Konstantin is you are both elite-level stand-up comedians that entered this political current affairs space because no one else was doing it. You now reach several million people a week. It's a truly global show. And I suppose what we saw with Brexit, which you mentioned that was the sort of the beginning of it, is tribal politics. And it's not just that we disagree. If we have a different opinion, you're evil, you're a bad person. And it's spilled out into debates over everything. It's very unhelpful for the world, isn't it?
It's incredibly unhelpful for the world. On Trigonometry, we try to get on everybody. So we've had people like Mehdi Hasan. Mehdi Hasan is a very prominent left-wing British journalist, now in America, former host of MSNBC News. So you have somebody like Mehdi. We then, on the same day we interviewed Mehdi in D.C., Washington, D.C., we then went to interview Senator Ted Cruz, a Republican. Mehdi is fiercely critical of the war of Iran. Ted Cruz is one of the biggest cheerleaders
Well,
of the world.
he told you on your show that it was him that convinced Trump to go in.
Yeah.
Which is an amazing scoop. You've also had Benjamin Netanyahu on the show, who's the Prime Minister of Israel. And what's very interesting about you and Constantine, ex-comedians, turns out brilliant current affairs broadcasters, neither of you are what could be classified as, in inverted commas, right-wing.
No, and because what we always try and do is, and this is true for Constantine as well, is you look at every issue and then you make up your mind where you stand on that issue. I think once you start identifying with a tribe and you start looking through the world through the lens of, I don't know, conservative, libertarian, socialist, then what essentially you're doing is you're giving up your own agency and your own, essentially your own individuality to become part of a tribe. And neither Constantine nor I ever really wanted that.
And you're still not in a tribe, but you have this platform where debates are had in an open and fair way. If everyone's given the time of day, sometimes on the show it's fantastic because people embarrass themselves, don't they? You don't even have to do anything.
Well, there are times where, you know, it's very interesting because people go, oh, you should have challenged them more, you should have gone in really hard. And actually, the best thing you can do as an interviewer is ask questions, and inevitably people will expose themselves.
Well, yes, and for example, somebody that we both know who I respect and is a very, very nice person, Deborah Frances White, who's a left-leaning feminist author and broadcaster, but all she could do when she debated yourself and Constantine is to throw labels around and attack. That's not the same as debate, is it?
No, because what the purpose of the show has always been, come on, bring your ideas, we're going to interrogate the ideas. It's about playing the ball, not the human being. And because people are sick of that. They don't want it anymore. Because what it degenerates into when you see people arguing, shouting and fighting, as I watch it, I go, I mean, this is Christmas for most people. You know, a few sherries in, suddenly all the epithets are being bandied about, and you go, well, what are we really learning from this? But actually, if you have a point of view that you think is coherent, that has value, bring it on the show. Tell us why you think that. We'll interrogate it, and then the argument will stand or fall on its own merits.
And I've watched some of your out and about videos as well, because you're not just in the studio and you travel around the world interviewing people, but you report on the street. And what's interesting is that when you sometimes debate, particularly, I would say it might be an issue on the progressive left, and you offer a counter argument, two things happen. Quite often they start shouting, or they walk away, they won't engage. But the other thing that really worries me about the modern world, and is demonstrated on your show, is that now facts don't work in the process of discourse and argument. And that really worries me, that if you can debate COVID lockdowns or something, even if you say certain countries didn't have the lockdowns and the outcomes were the same, people won't compute. Now, I like to think that on this show, Francis, if you can say to me, oh, your discussion about immigration, here's a fact, a provable fact that contradicts your Dolan's dispatch, I'll put my hands up and go, fair point, I didn't know that. But that's not what many do these days. Facts don't work, and that worries me.
Well, I mean, it's been said time and time again, Mark, we live in a post-truth world, and the reality look, I think people think that their opinions are their identity. If you're left-wing, you therefore think that, or let's say progressive left, you're very left-wing, you're very progressive, you therefore think an open borders society is a correct and moral thing to do. So if someone comes along and proves to you that actually it doesn't work, it makes life more difficult, more unsafe, particularly for the vulnerable people in society, but that's what your identity is tied to, then you're not going to accept that you might be wrong, because not only does it mean that you're wrong, it also means that your identity and your worldview and who you are as a human being has come into question, and you're simply going to shut down.
And it contradicts your narrative that you tell yourself that you're a good person.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know what you think. Well, I've been around the block a few times, and if anyone ever presents themselves as a good person, run for the hills.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
totally.
none of us are.
No.
And when people are virtuous...
Particularly in the media, Mark.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. When the truth comes out about me, I mean, yikes.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm so excited about the book. This is huge. Uneducated, My Life as a Teacher, Why You Should Never Become One. Francis was in the classroom.
Yeah. It's the other way round, Mark.
Before... thank God that we've got the hang of this. It's a massive book, and I cannot wait for this. Find out about Francis's years in the classroom and why never again. This is Talk Breakfast.
Is Starmer fueling anti-Semitism?
I don't think he's doing anything to deal with anti-Semitism. The attempt to gaslight the British people and the Jewish community is appalling.
This has to stop. It's almost being normalised, and it's terrifying, and we're sick of it. Enough's enough.
Don't be shocked, and don't you bloody dare claim to be shocked or upset or care about Jewish people being stabbed on the streets of our capital city in broad daylight. This is on you.
They sent us a picture that made me feel so ashamed. We look like hoarders.
Chris Marshall!
Yeah, I'm actually recovering from an accident right now.
You've landed loose today, haven't you?
Yeah, don't shake the arm, Chris, too much.
You're with Danny Boyle, who's like the maddest director ever. He's got so much energy. He's like you.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, Francis Foster has been pretty busy. He's an established stand-up comedian. He's the host of one of the biggest shows in the world. It's not a podcast anymore. It's a TV show. It's a podcast. It's everything. It's called Trigonometry. He's also the star now of a brand new TV product, and it's called The Francis Foster Show. It's going viral on YouTube. Let's take a listen to Francis reacting to the horrors of Golders Green this week.
What we need to do now as a country is something we don't like doing as a country. We don't like doing this because we're British. We don't like actually talking about the subject. And this is the issue. There is a very real problem with anti-Semitism in the Muslim community. And we don't want to address it, and we don't want to talk about it because it's difficult. But we all know that it's true.
And that's where media comes into its own, isn't it, Francis? With Trigonometry, hopefully here at Talk, with your brand new show, The Francis Foster Show, that we've got to air these debates, because if we don't, then society collapses.
One of the most powerful moments I ever had on Trigonometry was when we interviewed a journalist called Ed West. I don't know if you know him.
Yes, he's very good.
He's brilliant. And we were talking about free speech. This was back in 2021. And he said, I said to him, Ed, why is free speech so important? And I expected him to hear the usual points. But he made a brilliant point, which is this. The reason free speech is so important is that without free speech, you can't talk about every facet of a problem, whatever the problem is. And if you can't talk about every facet of the problem, particularly the bits that are unpleasant, particularly the bits where we want to shy away from...
The inconvenient truths?
Yeah, it's the inconvenient truths. Then you're never going to solve the problem. You just won't. And that's why free speech is so important. And we're looking at the rise of anti-Semitism, which is a horrendous problem. We see Jewish people being stabbed, places of worship being attacked, businesses being attacked. And it's got to the point now where it's shockingly feels normalised. But you look at a lot of the perpetrators doing this, and they have Islamic names. And you think to yourself, when are we actually going to have a conversation about this?
Most definitely, and that's what you do on the Francis Foster Show, which I'm really excited about. The most recent video has gone viral for good reason. And of course, what I'm holding in my hand now is a bestseller, Uneducated, My Life as a Teacher and Why You Should Never Become One. When did you become a teacher?
I became a teacher around about 20 years ago now, Mark.
So was this before even being a stand-up comedian?
Before doing any type of, before being a stand-up, around about 2007, I became a teacher. I was a teacher for 12 years.
And why did you write the book?
I wrote the book because what I wanted to say, first of all, it's a very funny book. It's actually been serialised by The Times, so The Times have bought it, which I'm really happy. Thank you very much. But the reason I wanted to do it is, number one, because one of my favourite ever authors is a man called Anthony Bourdain, who wrote a book about what it's like to be a chef called Kitchen Confidential.
Great read.
And in it, he said, one of the things that he said that always stuck with me, which is, I don't want to write the best book about being a chef. I want to write the most honest. There's a lot of nonsense that has been written about teachers, both from the right and from the left. The left say they're these paragons of virtue, these heroes. The right is, these freeloaders, all they do is clock in at 8 o'clock in the morning or 8:30, clock out at 3:30.
Not true.
13 weeks of holiday a year. And obviously the truth is always somewhere in between. But really what it's talking about is how our education system is broken, and broken education systems create broken outcomes and broken people.
Well, that's it. Important, powerful, polemical and naturally hilarious, like the man himself. Francis, keep up the good work. More power to you. By the way, I was going to do a Joe Rogan and do 3 hours with you, but apparently that's not allowed as other people want to present shows. It's a bit
I know, it's a bit selfish, isn't it, Mark?
I will say that's another great thing, is watching you guys on the Joe Rogan show, which is the biggest, it's the #1 show on the planet, and I think you've done it 6 or 7 times?
Yeah, about that.
Pretty good. I'm sure you'll be back to the States very soon. Grab yourself a copy of Uneducated, My Life as a Teacher and Why You Should Never Become One. A must-read. Francis, thank you for joining us. So much to come, folks. Talking of free speech, I'll be dealing with Keir Starmer in no uncertain terms in a special Dolan's Dispatch. It might get me cancelled. Good. That is next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Three minutes past 9. Top of the morning, happy Saturday, one and all. Your weekend starts here, your bank holiday weekend. Mark Dolan on Talk Breakfast, a big hour to come. Breaking this morning, he is streetings ahead. Wes has the numbers. An assault on the leadership of Keir Starmer is expected in just a week's time, following what is anticipated to be a catastrophic set of local election results. Meanwhile, this programme has been told that Angela Rayner is sounding out support from backbenchers and the trade unions. Plus, waiting in the wings, Big Andy Burnham in Greater Manchester thinks he has a safe seat and could be back in the Commons in a matter of... So here's my question to you this morning. As they gather the troops and plan an assault on number 10, will a new leader save Labour? My phone number is 0344 499 1000. Text the word TALK in your message to 87222. Leave us a voice note, and as the saying goes, let's talk. We kick off, as always, at this time on Talk Breakfast with Dolan's Dispatch. On his trip to the United States, the King spoke well. He did the nation proud and went a considerable way to restoring our special relationship with America and fixing the damage done by our egregiously incompetent Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. It was also a timely reminder of the importance, value and soft diplomatic power of our monarchy. Now, you may rest assured that if we had an elected president, they would not have received the VIP treatment that Charles and Camilla enjoyed over 4 days. If we didn't have a monarch, we would have an elected president. Now, that would be a dusty, retired politician, an obscure entrepreneur, an academic, someone from the charity sector, someone you've never heard of, or even a clapped-out ex-celebrity. In the absence of King Charles, it could be President Tony Blair. Yikes! It could be President Richard Branson, or may God help us, President Gary Lineker. Now, the monarchy is a funny old idea. Like many British institutions, you probably wouldn't start it now, but strange as it is, the idea of a hereditary family born into riches and privilege, yes, it's a crazy idea, but like so many great British traditions, it simply works. You can't argue with that. So addressing US lawmakers, King Charles was witty this week. He was warm, he was intelligent. He revealed his capacious knowledge of history, his lyricism, his wit. Wow! It was the gig of the century. It was Charles's Glastonbury. He was on the pyramid stage and he tore it up. He even silenced and humbled the notorious orange-stained motormouth Donald Trump. But I've got to be honest with you, at 7 minutes past 9 on Talk Breakfast, I felt a pang of sadness when I listened to Charles's address in Washington, D.C., because he spoke about our two nations' history, about the special relationship and about the fact that America is rooted in British values, not surprising given that we used to own the place. He talked about those British principles and traditions: hard work, endeavour, fair play, free markets, democracy, entrepreneurialism, creativity, a culture of striving, of innovation, of excellence, all proud British traits. But his characterisation of this country, the United Kingdom, felt more nostalgic than topical. It felt more rooted in the past than in the present. Now, I love this country infinitely, but it's lost its way. It's lost its mojo. It's lost its identity. Britain has started apologising for itself. Britain is now nervous, edgy. It's looking over its shoulder. It's defeated. It is depleted. It is a shadow of its former self, a small nation, a small pocket of land that once controlled a quarter of the planet. This is a great country, but now permanently in the red. A country that lives beyond its means with the once noble principle of welfare as a safety net, now a ruinous lifestyle choice. We were once a great nation of optimists, but now we're all mental health basket cases, popping pills dished out by overzealous GPs, working for an expensive health service that manages illness rather than preventing it. What about our proud military? We used to be #1 in the world. But yet this year alone, early naval help to support Cyprus following America's airstrikes on Iran took so long, it would have been quicker to send a P&O ferry or a Royal Caribbean cruise ship. Britain, the country that created the Titanic, that built a navy, now has that sinking feeling. Charles spoke about Britishness, but what does that mean? With seismic societal change thanks to egregiously unsustainable levels of legal and illegal immigration. And how can we speak about the rule of law and an orderly society, something that we literally invented and presided over for centuries, whilst hundreds of undocumented people alight on our beaches on a daily basis, who we expensively accommodate and allow to roam freely? We've now moved these people out of 4-star family hotels into a neighbourhood near you, and we've sacrificed civic facilities aimed at the health and education of young people, such as army training bases, to accommodate not real refugees, but opportunist young men whose backgrounds we don't know, who have paid gangsters to get here. So the Britain of which old Charles spoke this week in the United States is not a Britain that I now recognise. Of course we can change, and we've got to. And how do we do that? We need to reboot. We need to start again. We need a country and an economy where it pays to work and where it doesn't pay to sit at home all day long, chowing down Domino's pizza and mainlining Netflix and drinking Diet Coke. It has to pay to work. And having a job, if I ran the world, we can but dream, would be a human right. So the incentives are all wrong in the welfare state, which used to be a safety net and is now a lifestyle choice. The same with the military. Now, I spoke to a few military insiders this week, and we were talking about what the military needs by way of investment. And we're talking about percentage of GDP, 2%, 3%, 5%. This is just meaningless, especially in a shrinking economy, thanks to Rachel from Accounts. So here's what I suggest. Forget about your percentage of GDP. Currently, we invest around 60 billion in the military. I'd go 150 billion pounds to make the world and Britain a safer place. What else do we need? We need cheap energy. I've got no problem with solar panels and windmills. I love nuclear and I love fossil. Let's have a mix. Can we do that? Because at the moment, thanks to Red Ed Miliband, BP are now considering leaving the North Sea altogether. You heard me right. Why? Because it's not viable for them to drill, baby, drill. So this is a race to the bottom. We need cheap energy, right? We obviously need a welfare state that is sensible and a safety net. We need a country that lives within its means. We need strong borders. We need to unilaterally end illegal immigration. I don't want to hear about 100 a week or 5 a week, just zero. Zero. And you can tear up the ECHR, the Refugee Convention, all of which have been leveraged by loony left human rights lawyers. Forget about the Human Rights Act. I care about the human rights of the British people to live in a country where everyone that's on our land is known to the authorities, someone that can have their criminal record checked, that doesn't throw their mobile phone and their documentation into the sea as they cross the channel, having paid gangsters as part of an international criminal network. The other big thing that we need to do to reclaim the Britain of which King Charles spoke this week, was to reclaim national identity. Now, what we have is a multi-ethnic society. That is not going to change. I think maybe I'm ethnic. I don't know. I'm Irish. So is that ethnic? Who knows? I don't care. But we have a multi-ethnic society. That won't change. We have a big makeup. What you have is the indigenous Brits and the English and the Welsh, those in Northern Ireland and those in Wales, and they are the indigenous population. And this is their country. And I say that as an immigrant to the country myself, at least via my parents. So what we have is we have the indigenous population and we have a multi-ethnic society on top of that. I've got no problem with that. In fact, brilliant, bring it on. But the multicultural experiment has completely failed. Big difference between multi-ethnic and multicultural. Because the problem you got with this left-wing utopian dream of multiculturalism is people living in parallel societies, not contributing to the system, not following the rule of law, having quite often their own laws, having a different attitude to women, having a completely different culture. That is the problem with multiculturalism. There is no expectation of integration. So what do we need to do to win back Charles's vision of Britain, which now sounds nostalgic? We need national identity. We need a multi-ethnic society combined with the indigenous population that are united around one thing, the flag. United around one thing, the rule of law. United around one thing, British values, customs and tradition. So in summation, we can get back the Britain of which Charles spoke so fondly this week in Washington, D.C. But whilst Donald Trump talks about making America great again, I think our project is even simpler. It's time for us to make Britain again. 0344 499 1000. Robert is in Hertfordshire. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning. I'd like to thank you for that monologue. You've pressed all the buttons, but it just paints a more dismal picture of what's wrong. I feel that there's no leader in the Labour Party who can take over. Forget about West Street, and he's weak. When Labour first won power, and the very first strike that the young doctors went on, that is when he should have struck a deal with the young doctors and said, I'll give you your money, but there's no more striking. You said, he's weak. You know.
Well, I agree, because, Robert, you're right to say that. The government have settled the inflation-busting deals with the public sector without asking for any reforms whatsoever.
Nothing at all. And he had a really good opportunity. I mean, whether the unions would have broke the deal, that's another matter. But he had an opportunity, and I think what you've got there, you've got of all the runners and riders, you've got. I quite like him, but he's weak. You've got a complete idiot with David Lemmy. You've got
Mastermind. Wait a minute. Wasn't he a wizard or
with,
mastermind, or was it all passes? I've forgotten now.
Oh, that was you've got to cheer yourself up later on when you go home. I mean, that's incredible. But then you've got Angela Rayner, who's just well out of her league. And I'll tell you what she reminds me of. She reminds me of, you know when you used to go bird pulling when you with all your mates. Well, she was the one you ended up with at the end of the night if you weren't quick enough. You know? I think she's a complete and utter. Well, she's dangerous. As for Zach, but then you're going on to the other party. Zach Polanski is they remind me of the Greens. Remind me of the raving lunatic party, but are dangerous.
Yeah,
he is a complete danger, and what he's doing, he's using the Muslim vote to get by. But wait till they want to sling him off a roof, the Muslim, for being gay. What's he going to do then?
Robert, you've raised so many good points, and I wish we had longer. I totally agree. Robert there saying there's no one up to the job to take over as Labour leader, even Wes Streeting, who Robert doesn't mind but thinks is irredeemably weak. Robert, really enjoyed your call. Let's speak soon. So many voice notes to get through. Let's take a listen to Damon.
Good morning, Mike. Damon from Wigan.
No, a new leader will not save the Labour Party, because the Labour Party, in general, just do not care about the British people. They've shown that. They've shown exactly what they think about Britain. They've shown exactly what they think about British history, and they've shown exactly what how they want to protect the British people.
Damon, brilliant voice notes. Let's take a listen to Adam on the question of the day. Can a new leader save Labour?
Adam from sunny Bournemouth. I don't think any leader that comes in after Starmer on the Labour side are going to be particularly any good. But what I will say, I do think they'll probably get a little boost initially. And I think they would probably get that from West Streeting, but I don't think the party would go.
Well, there you go. Yeah, he's probably too good, isn't he? What about this from Peter? Take it away, Peter, on a voice note.
Good morning, Mark. Well, the political situation in this country is in a real mess, isn't it? You've got Starmer, useless. Miliband, useless. Rayner, useless. So the best thing really that they could do now is call a general election and get all this over and done with, so the country can try and get back on its feet.
Lovely one. What about this from Jill, who's talked about the cause of our problems in a brilliant voice note?
Hi, Mark. It's Jill from Northampton here. I'm a bit concerned because you missed out the great flood as described in Genesis in the Bible, when blaming all the events that have caused the current state of economic affairs. I'm blaming it. I'm still blaming it for my state of affairs, because my ancestors, all those millennia ago, were not allowed on Noah's Ark and had to swim for it. And it took a very long time for them to actually leave the water and find their way to the land, grow legs and evolve. So it can be traced back that far. So please, would you, moving forwards, not forget to include the flood and Noah's Ark?
Well, Jill, thank you for that. An important story and an important metaphor for where we are now. What about Kev? What does he say on the voice notes?
Morning, Mark. Once again, glad to hear your voice so early. Listening to your guests this morning and listening to a lot of the chat, people say be careful what you wish for if Starmer was to go and was to be replaced. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that at all. This guy, this evil dictator needs removing. He needs removing for many reasons. The things that has happened under his watch purely for those reasons, but also the thing that nobody seems to be talking about. He needs to be separated and split, this partnership between him and Lord Hermer. Lord Hermer is a proven enemy of this country, and he is our Attorney General. And him and Starmer, best of buzzes. This partnership needs splitting.
I tell you what, you are right. They are worse than the Krays, aren't they? And last but not least for now, I'm going to get through more voice notes in a moment, but here's Mike on the potential Prime Minister of this country, Ed Miliband.
Morning, Mark. Mike in Whitney here. It's interesting. You only have to mention the name Ed Miliband and it sends shivers down my spine. That man is a real nut job. He's an absolute imbecile. This is a man that doesn't know that electricity is only 20% of the country's energy needs. He doesn't know that petrol and diesel and gas run the other 80%. He doesn't know there are 42 million vehicles in the UK that run on petrol and diesel. He's just an absolute lunatic and should be nowhere near any position of power. Actually, he should be locked up. He looks like Hannibal Lecter. He's such a scary-looking guy.
Except he doesn't eat livers, does he? He eats bacon sandwiches. Mike, thank you for that powerful voice note. Lots more to come. Can a change in leader save Labour? This is Talk Breakfast.
Is Starmer fueling anti-Semitism?
I don't think he's doing anything to deal with anti-Semitism. The attempt to gaslight the British people and the Jewish community is appalling.
This has to stop. It's almost being normalised, and it's terrifying, and we're sick of it. Enough's enough.
Don't be shocked, and don't you bloody dare claim to be shocked or upset or care about Jewish people being stabbed on the streets of our capital city in broad daylight. This is on you.
And they sent us a picture that made me feel so ashamed. We look like hoarders.
Chris Marshall!
Yeah, I'm actually recovering from an accident right now.
You've landed loose today, haven't you?
Yeah, don't shake the arm, Chris, too much.
You're with Danny Boyle, who's like the maddest director ever. He's got so much energy. He's like you.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
You are listening to Talk Breakfast. Mark Dolan with you until 10 a.m. The excellent Alex Phillips live in just over half an hour's time. And breaking this morning, he is streetings ahead. Wes has the numbers, we're told. An assault on the leadership of Keir Starmer is expected in just a week's time, potentially, following what are anticipated to be catastrophic results from the May local elections. Meanwhile, this programme has been told Angela Rayner is sounding out support from backbenchers and the trade unions, and waiting in the wings in Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, who may have found a safe seat. Well, the person with the inside story and the biggest political scoops of the day is the political editor of The Sun on Sunday, Kate Ferguson. Good morning, Kate.
Good morning.
Well, another very busy day politically. So, has Wes got the numbers?
Yeah, I think Wes has the numbers. It's been a rumour for a few weeks now that he's had the numbers. If it's about 80 you need, Wes will be able to get about 80 Labour MPs, I think, on a piece of paper. The big question with Wes, really, is whether or not he's actually going to try and trigger this long talked about leadership or suspected leadership election, or if he wants to wait for someone else to plunge the knife.
Well, that's the million-dollar question, because you know there is not much precedent for the person who plunges the knife getting the top job.
Yes, there's lots of concern about that. There's always this idea that he who wields the knife never gets the crown. But look, what's happening next Thursday in the local elections? Over Friday and Saturday, we're going to see a set of catastrophic results for PM and the Labour Party. And this really is judgment day for Labour. So you're about 2 years into your premiership if you're Keir Starmer with your big majority. Your popularity is low, you've lost loads of seats. It's really make or break time, I think, for Labour MPs to consider whether or not they actually want to get rid of him. And if they don't strike in the aftermath of May, I think he could stay on as PM for quite a while longer.
Anger from the party at a local level could make life more difficult for Starmer. It's not just those restive backbenchers, it's the councillors, isn't it, who will be out of a job?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, Labour is staring down the barrel of defeat in councils they've held since they were created. So if you look at kind of Sunderland, that's a council that is rock solid Labour usually, and now it might fall to Reform.
Apparently every single seat could go.
Exactly.
Which I think is around 30 seats.
I mean, that is a landslide
Unheard
defeat.
of.
So what you will get on the day, what happens is that once these councillors start going, you will get council leaders who've lost all their councillors, lost their own job, start coming out calling for Keir Starmer to go, calling for a radical rethink.
Yeah.
It looks like Labour's going to do some really badly in Wales. Again, that's a former stronghold. Suspect you'll see the leader in Wales come out and say something. She nearly did with Anas earlier in the year, but didn't, so I suspect we'll see her say something in the aftermath of May. But it's the Labour MPs who have the power here, / potentially the cabinet. They've got the power to challenge. And so it really comes down to, do they put their money where their mouth is? Do they stop grumbling over cappuccinos and actually put their name on a piece of paper and ask PM to go?
Is there any possibility that the PM falls on his sword in about a week's time?
I think that is looking less and less likely, actually.
It might be a good move if is expected to go, but this is a very ambitious and driven man who's wanted to be Prime Minister for a long time.
Yes, so like whenever people are sort of plotting and deciding who should be Prime Minister, who shall I back, they always want to do it in this kind of perfect way. Oh, well, we'll tell PM to go, but we'll have a nice long leadership
The
contest.
men in grey suits will go into number 10.
Exactly. It'll be a bloodless
and a few
coup.
women.
Yeah, maybe a woman this time. It'll be a bloodless coup, and then we get our man or woman in number 10 and everything will be better. The reality is things are really that simple. They're messier, they're more chaotic, there's more blood spilled. Do you remember when Boris Johnson, like his entire cabinet basically quit? It was rolling resignations and he was still holed up in Downing Street. It took a while for him to go.
There was a guy called Rishi Sunak. He gave up the number 11, didn't he, for that?
Yeah, exactly. Sajid went first, then Rishi quickly went out the door, and it took a long time for Boris's premiership to actually end. So these things are never as simple and as bloodless as a backbench MP would like to believe.
And Starmer is also stubborn, isn't he? And Boris Johnson, when he did leave office, he said, what did he say? When the herd moves, it moves.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. When the pack moves, it moves. The
Starmer, I don't think, has the same attitude that Johnson did, I would suggest.
He's a far less political beast than Johnson. So Boris Johnson was a man who, you know, he was a politician for years. He loved the game. He always had his people, you know. Boris a very divisive figure, even within the Tory party, but there were always those who loved Boris, and he had his mates. Keir, a much lonelier figure, I think, but maybe thicker-skinned. And so I think if he feels under pressure, besieged, he may actually dig in more and think, no, the more pressure I'm under, the better job I must be doing.
Now, what about this idea of a stalking horse candidate, a lesser-known backbencher that throws their hat in the ring? Does that open the door to Streeting and Rayner, for example?
Sure, like there is chatter of a stalking horse. I mean, look, the one man putting his own name forward is a guy called Al Cairns, who's a defence minister. He's not been an MP long. He's one of the 24 intake, but former armed forces. And he would like to be, I think he actually would quite like to be leader rather than being a sort of stalking horse for someone else. The big question really is, can you get these 80 names? It's a lot of names.
Because even a stalking horse needs the 80 odd, because otherwise there is no ballot.
Exactly. So you need, it's not so, you can't do this thing of you just sort of get a no mark and they throw their hat in the ring and then everyone else can follow. You need to have the parliamentary support base. And to be honest, only a few MPs will. And
if it were to play out as a leadership election, who are the front runners?
So it's so funny because the front runners all really have very big problems with them that in normal times might just totally rule them out. So let's go through them very quickly one by one. Angela Rayner, so-called Queen of the North, Red Rayner, both in hair colour obviously and maybe in politics. Lots of people around her want her to go for it. She's one of the front runners, but her taxes still haven't come back. So she's still under investigation by the taxman. In normal times, that would basically scupper your chances of leading. Andy Burnham is seen as a front runner, but he doesn't even have a seat. So it's kind of a bit balmy, to be honest. There's various briefings in the friendly papers to him today about how they're queuing up. Labour MPs are queuing up, apparently, to pack in their careers and give him their seat. But we haven't heard any of them say this, and each name that's floated they have to kind of trot out and deny it on the record with on the telly or on the radio. So I'm a bit dubious that Andy Burnham is a kind of viable candidate. At least currently I don't think he is, because he's not got a seat.
Also, I mean, just before we get to the other candidates, you know, this is not a guy that's universally admired, Andy Burnham. First of all, I'm not sure about his politics because he was a protege of Blair in the 2000s, very much part of the New Labour project. Now we're told he's a red-blooded socialist. I'm very confused.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's been on a, you might say he's been on a journey. I mean, I guess times have changed and the wind's blown and he's blown with it. But yeah, I mean, look, probably not universally liked, but what Andy's got going for him in the Labour stakes is that he's not been an MP when their popularity in Parliament has plummeted. So he's been up there in Manchester, immune from the polling down here. And so he's been able to say, well, look at me, I've championed Manchester, I've had a go at those people in number 10. So his popularity has stayed pretty high by virtue of not being in the cabinet. Now, if he was in the cabinet, I suspect his popularity would have suffered a pretty big dent, but he hasn't been. So he's immune from that, really.
Oh, well, that helps. And of course, being a local mayor, a regional mayor, is a decent platform for power. We saw that with Boris Johnson, because you can have your small victories in London, Greater Manchester and elsewhere.
Yeah, you kind of have your cake and eat it, really. You know, you can ask them for money and get it, and then you can champion what you do with it. And when you don't get it, you can just slag them off. I mean, politically, it's quite an easy place to be in.
I totally agree with you on that. So we've been through Angela Rayner, and who's next?
So done Angela, Andy. So obviously we've sort of already done Wes. Wes, the kind of golden boy, the Blairite boy. But is it just too perfect, too right-wing, too Blairite for the Labour Party, potentially? And then, I mean, the other name that's on people's lips, which is maybe a bit amusing, maybe a bit frightening for your listeners, is Ed Miliband return. So Ed Miliband obviously was leader before, lost the general election in 2015 to David Cameron, resigned as Labour leader as a result, but there's chatter that he could run.
What he is experienced, and compared to Starmer, might be considered a steady hand at the tiller, and he's liked by the Labour left.
Yes. Ed Miliband, it's funny because publicly he sort of has this clownish sort of persona. But within the Labour Party, he actually is really, really politically experienced, right? So an advisor to Gordon Brown, knows how to work the Whitehall machine, get things done, knows how to play the game in politics and have a base within the Parliamentary Labour Party, popular with the grassroots because he's championed the net zero stuff. So he's actually a much more canny operator than I think most people just generally in the public would appreciate.
Well, look, I cannot wait for tomorrow's paper. You're sitting on some big political scoops. Kate Ferguson is the political editor of The Sun on Sunday. Kate, we'll see you in a week's time, at which point let's hope we've still got a Prime Minister. or do we hope that? My thanks to Kate Ferguson. Can a change of leader save Labour? This is Talk Breakfast. Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk. You are listening to Talk Breakfast. Will a change of leader save Labour? Here is a voice note from Boz.
Morning, Mark, and the breakfast team. Travelling Boz here. I'll tell you what, I'm so looking forward to this race for the Labour leader. After next Thursday, they'll all be absolutely running around like rats of a sinking ship. Oh, our leader, and he'll come out and he'll go, oh, well, you know, I'm the only one to take us forward. Listen, the man is deluded. 22 months. He should have gone a long time ago. He keeps getting away with it. It's like he's the gloss on the undercoat, and everything slides off him. The Teflon Don, slippery eel, whatever he has been. He should do the decent thing, and knowing his character, he will turn round and he'll say, listen, you don't back me, we'll have a general election and you all lose your seats. Well, I'll tell you what, do it. And then the people say, listen, he done one good thing in 22 months, call an election. As for the rest of the runners in the background, wow, that's a shocking selection to have.
Oh, well, listen, thank you for that, Boz. Here's Eugenie with a voice note on my question. Can a Labour leader come in and save the project?
Good morning, Mark. Great show, as always. You are fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
In answer to your question, a change of leader, I feel, may alter the tone, but it won't rewrite the script. I think if you swap the figurehead, you may get a different style of delivery, but I think the substance remains largely intact.
Thank you for that, Eugenie. Carl has left a voice note about changes to renters' rights.
Hi, Mark. Carl in Bury. Just listening to that gentleman talking about the renters' rights bill. I'm a mortgage broker, and I used to arrange roughly a couple of buy-to-lets every single month. Now, I must write 3 or 4 a year. Landlords are pulling out the market massively. They're either selling up, or what a lot are doing is handing their houses over to Circle for HMOs and the private lettings for asylum seekers and illegal migrants. And what it's basically doing, and what this bill's going to do, is make sure there's an even bigger housing shortage, and there's going to be a shortage of rental properties, which is going to push up the rents, so all the poor of society are actually going to be worse off. So this renters' rights bill isn't helping anybody. It's not helping landlords, and it's not helping the poor people of Britain who need cheap housing. Cheers.
Carl, a brilliant message there as a mortgage broker, saying the renters' rights legislation is bad news for landlords, bad news for renters. I think it's a car crash in slow motion. Adrian on a voice note.
Morning, Mark. It's Adrian from East Sussex. Can Labour survive? No. The whole country can see that their leader is a liar, never answers a question, and also all their MPs are spineless, or most of them, and they voted to make sure he was protected. I think generally the whole country is waking up to the realisation that both the political and cultural elite are corrupt and have decided to hand the country across to radical Islam. That's why it's just hollow words when another Jew gets stabbed or more children get killed by a radical Islamist terrorist.
Adrian, thank you for that powerful voice note. Tristan has left us a message.
Hello, Mark. Tristan in Bedford. Put it very simply for you. No one can save Labour. The thing is a government should be implementing policy based on the economy, based on common sense and based on logic. The thing is with Labour and every left-wing socialist rubbish party is everything is done on ideology.
I totally agree with that, and that's where the brain stops being engaged. How about this from Tony, who's not happy?
Morning, Mark. It's Tony from Nottingham. I'm just increasingly frustrated with this conflation that they're trying to do with the far right, supposedly, and Islamic extremism. It's just so disingenuous. Makes me feel sick and angry. I go to Unite the Kingdom. I'm a former police officer with the Chief Constable's commendation for attempting to save the life of a desperately injured Muslim chap. I am not far right. I'm just concerned about my country.
Tony, you're not the only one, and can I thank you for your service to this country as a police officer. Here's lovely Karen.
Hi, Mark. Certainly can't have Angela Rayner, tax dodger, in power. I mean, it's just ridiculous, and certainly cannot have Shabama Mahmood because she is a Muslim, and we cannot have a Muslim PM in this country. I'm sorry, after all the attacks in Golders Green, this country would implode. And that Michael you had on, she's done nothing. Nothing. No action. You know, when you're in a relationship, you say you judge people by their action, not by their words. She can talk all she likes. She's done nothing. This country is going to implode. But I don't know why they're doing this all over Europe as well.
Oh, I don't know, but it feels by design, doesn't it, Karen? Phil has left us a voice note.
Morning, Mark. It's Phil from Durban in South Africa again. Well, what a choice we have. What a ridiculous choice we have. We've got a failed mayor from Manchester who's going to be shoehorned in. We've got a fraudulent Angela Rayner who's got answers to give to the tax authorities. We've got a mad energy man who can't even eat a bacon sandwich. And we've got a Wes Streeting whose idea of sorting out the unions is to give them 30% pay rise to the junior doctors. Well, that's a wonderful choice to have, isn't it? Good luck with that lot.
Brilliant stuff. How about this from lovely Michelle?
Oh my God, Mark. That lady that was talking about Spain, I mean, she might as well have been talking about Britain. Everything, the corrupt Prime Minister, the rapes, the crime, just everything. And it is so frightening, but it's like a mirror image of Britain. When are the left going to wake up? They're living in cloud cuckoo land. It's ridiculous. It's scary. We're thinking if Reform don't get in, we're going to leave the country. We thought about going to Spain, well, Portugal, but where is safe now from this mass immigration and the destruction of countries? It's Michelle from Rutland.
Michelle, thank you for your concerned message, which is shared by many. Last but not least for now, here's Big Glenn.
Morning, Mark. Great show as usual.
Thank you, Glenn.
Yeah, there's a Michael Fabricant saying that the only Labour Party member that's doing a good job is Shabana Mahmood. I hear this rhetoric all the time. She's all talk. She's doing nothing. She's doing diddly squat to solve my biggest issue, immigration and illegal immigration at that. Again, great show, Mark. Have a good one.
Thank you, Glenn. So many more voice notes we didn't have a chance to get through, plus calls. Paul in Newcastle, Chris, Francis, another Paul, David, another Paul, Phil, Marion. We'll do all of that tomorrow. We'll pick up this conversation. Very excited about our conversation next. It's Retro Rewind, one of the biggest that we've ever done. Beatles Mania, an iconic TV show and one of the greatest sporting moments in our history. What year is that? All shall be revealed next.
Starmer fueling anti-Semitism?
I don't think he's doing anything to deal with anti-Semitism. The attempt to gaslight the British people and the Jewish community is appalling.
This has to stop. It's almost being normalised, and it's terrifying, and we're sick of it. Enough's enough.
Don't be shocked, and don't you bloody dare claim to be shocked or upset or care about Jewish people being stabbed on the streets of our capital city in broad daylight. This is on you.
Olivia Moore!
And they sent us a picture that made me feel so ashamed. We look like hoarders.
Chris Marshall!
Yeah, I'm actually recovering from an accident right now.
You've landed loose today, haven't you?
Yeah, don't shake the arm, Chris, too much.
You're with Danny Boyle, who's like the maddest director ever. He's got so much energy. He's like you.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
9:49 Talk Breakfast for Retro Rewind, live in the studio, Virgin Radio star Steve Denyer. Hello, Steve.
Good morning.
Very good to see you. And TFI, Chris Evans' brilliant show, is back and going from strength to strength.
Yes, a new episode was on Channel 4 last night. I got lots of messages from people saying how good it looks. It's up on YouTube. Our YouTube channel's Virgin Radio UK. We've got KSI on it. Lenny Henry came in the week.
Is KSI one of those furniture superstores?
Exactly.
It's always got a sale.
Very popular bank holiday weekends.
Well, producer Dean bought a sofa from KSI.
Did he?
With his missus. Yeah.
I hear it.
One of those ones that reclines.
Yeah, leather, wiped clean. That's what I heard.
See, I'm showing my age not knowing who KSI is. But it is a massive name. Who is KSI?
Oh, just honestly, Britain's Got Talent, huge name.
Is that right?
75 million followers, few more than I have on my Instagram at Denyer Steve. But so Lenny Henry came in, and he's doing a 50th anniversary tour, and he gave us this great interview. It's like a 10-minute stand-up interview.
Wow.
All the Tiswas stuff, talking about Game for a Laugh, really cool. There's also, we go back in time, so you'll see Robbie Williams from 1996. The week he quit Take That. And he's got a lawyer in the audience, and he's saying, can I say this, and he's saying bitter things about Nigel Martin Smith, and he was just about to launch his solo career, and it's a real snapshot of 1996 and the chaos in the bar on TFI. So it's really good. It's all there. TFI Unplugged. This is episode number 11, and it's 48 minutes, and there's a lot of me in the background hollering, clapping, whooping, doing my thing.
Was not
I'm a
to
good
like,
clapper.
was
I'm a good
not to
hype
like,
man.
and old and new, all wrapped around the genius that is Chris Evans.
I wondered if I could take you back to a year that I'm desperately... We're not going to mess this up today. I'm not going to give it away. Stop it. I'll tell you what it is. It's the year that Harold Wilson won a landslide election against Ted Heath. It was the year that our late Queen was just 40 years old. She'd been reigning for about 14 years. Prince Charles was 17. Prince Edward was 2. So it's a long, long time ago.
Are you sure Prince Charles was ever 17? I think he was 48 from the beginning.
When he was born.
Yeah.
Yeah. He came out with a,
There's
copy
no
of an old
photographic
book.
evidence of him as being a young man.
Well, it was interesting watching The Crown and their portrayal of him as a young man, because he was quite feisty, and and it's just very odd. But yeah, he's always seemed to be an older.
He was a fine figure of a man, wasn't he? With that sort of shock of brown hair, and he's sort of obviously born into privilege and status.
But he hasn't really changed, has he?
He hasn't
speaks
really.
the same.
He's a very elegant man, and I thought I don't know what you thought. I thought he owned it in the United States this week.
Did a spectacular
I thought
job.
he slayed.
Really funny as well.
Yeah.
That comment about you'd be speaking French. And,
just brilliant.
He played it perfectly. He was spot on. Anyone who remember this year would remember music, and the Beatles were absolutely massive. In fact, the reason why we're featuring this year is it was this weekend. Back in this year, they did their very final gig in the UK. They did it at the Empire Pool at Wembley. They only ever did one Top of the Pops appearance, and I've got a little clip. Would you like to see it? Back in this year. Look at this.
Now, this is fascinating. They were in their pomp at this point. We won't reveal the date until the end.
Yeah.
But this was not the year that they broke up, is it?
No, it wasn't. It was the year that the album Revolver came out, which was a game changer. They were so sick of touring. Apparently, they couldn't hear themselves. I mean, the fans were so crazy, so wild. They'd been relentlessly touring for years and years and years, so they just stopped it.
Because the technology just wasn't there.
Well,
now, if it was One Direction, you've got enough loudspeakers and monitors that you can hear through the screaming. In those days, the technology was more basic.
Exactly, but also they were very clever and ahead of their times because they knew the future was in movies and televisual. The reason why they didn't do Top of the Pops until this year was because they were forced to mime. They didn't think they could be their authentic live selves on the show, so they did it once. They hated it. So in this year, they kind of thought, you know what? We're going to look at televising stuff. We're going to make movies. We're going to be this first. And they really were probably the first multimedia band. But this year signalled the end of live gigs.
Well, that's interesting. And unlike Elvis Presley, their movies were critically acclaimed as well as being very popular.
Yeah.
And the other thing that they became is a studio band, which is why we've got so many albums. And I remember John Lennon at the time, well, not at the time, but, you know, reading quotes that in this period, he's like, well, we're going to tour the world, but just via our music.
Yes.
Not physically.
Yeah, let the music take the centre piece. He also said that the band were bigger than Jesus, and this caused a huge outrage in America, but everyone was talking about them,
I feel
and that's
sorry
what they
for
needed.
him because it was a joke.
Yes,
he didn't
of course.
really mean it. It was a flippant remark and his dry sense of humour, but it backfired.
And of course, years later, Oasis would say that kind of stuff and get away with it. But this was very touchy times back in this year, which I still haven't given away. By the way, we get lots of messages. Well, you'll find out in a moment. Can I take you to the 30th of July? We won the World Cup.
1958. This is the year we won the World Cup.
England won the World Cup. I've never seen, I mean, possibly in your lifetime, never seen this happening. It was a 4-2 win against West Germany. Jeff Hurst was the guy. I sound like Des Lynam, don't I? I know what I'm talking about. He managed to score a hat-trick, including that second goal, which is known as the Wembley goal. Should we see a little clip?
Let's do it.
Look at this.
That was a sporting moment, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But it was a cultural moment too.
A massive moment. I mean, you know, we have no comparisons. All I can compare it to was '96 Euro Games. We didn't win that, but it did seem a cultural moment, didn't it? With Three Lions and the pride of the nation. But an incredible moment. The only time that has ever happened, and Jeff Hurst was the only person ever to score a hat-trick in a World Cup final.
It was a time, which we won't reveal the date yet, but of self-confidence for the country. We'd won the World Cup. We had the Beatles that had taken over the world.
We were doing okay, weren't we?
The mini skirts.
Yes. And the minis.
And all of that, and the mini car itself.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. Where else can we go in this year?
Very, very final episode of a TV show that changed everything. You remember the Thunderbirds, don't you? Very final episode aired in this year, and it kind of went out in a whimper. I found a clip. Would you like to see it? It was actually a bit of a Christmas special, the final episode. Look at this.
Thunderbirds! Ah! Go!
Well, you can still watch that show and it's just as entertaining. It hasn't aged that badly, really.
No, I mean, and actually to think that it was so long ago, the technology they use is called supermarination, where they had the puppets had wires and they were controlled